Greetings, everyone, and welcome to GameFace, episode 358. I gotta say, I think we're the only podcast that has almost 50 years of experience covering the video game industry. And I know for a fact it's the only gaming podcast with just two people that can say that. And alongside me, making up that other 50%, is Matt Kyle. What's up, Matt?
Soon it'll just be 100 years between the two of us.
It is pretty crazy to think between the two of us, almost 50 years of experience covering the video game industry professionally. That's crazy. I mean, again, I don't think you'll find it anywhere else. And we have a gigantic show today. I know the last couple months we've had a lot of housekeeping to open the show. That is not going to be the case today. Just a quick rundown of what we have for you guys today. We're going to have to really work to get it all done. We're going to talk about the Xbox leaks that came out yesterday. And I'm actually glad that we ended up having to bump this a day because it gave us more time, one, to think about all that stuff and for all the information to come out. We're talking about Mortal Kombat 1 today, our review of that. We're going to cover the Sony State of Play and the Nintendo Direct that happened both on the same day, which never happens, last week. We're going to talk about the Crew Motorfest. We're going to talk about Lies of P. And we have a secret, really cool game for the end of the show. One of Matt's targets that we're going to talk about. We got a lot to get to. It's going to be insane. Hopefully you guys have had a good week. Hopefully you guys are okay that we pushed this one day. We're back for another special Wednesday edition of GameFace. I'll say right now, we will be back on Tuesday next week. This was just an anomaly, Matt. This is, people don't realize in California when you get on jury duty, it's this process that you go through where you have to keep calling into a phone number the night before, praying that they don't tell you to come in.
Well, LA County specifically. It's like, and that's never happened before to me. Like, I've never had to go in before 19 years of living here.
Once I had to.
Yeah, so this is the first time, and they dismissed us because the trial I was supposed to do, we got, as soon as when we got up there and in the room, they're like, oh, they took a plea bargain, so we don't need you, so you can go home. And that was it. But
technically, I had jury duty 3 weeks ago, but you guys didn't know because I was calling in every night, and I didn't have to go in. So 5 days, you call in 5 days in a row. On the fifth day, if they tell you not to go in, you're free for another 18 months. It's only 18 months, though.
But, L.A. County, like as the judge noted yesterday, the L.A. County is the largest county jurisdictionally in the world.
Wow.
Like, there are 44,000... There's 5,500 jury trials in LA County every year.
Wow.
Something like 44,000 people are jurors in this county every year, which is not that much when you consider it's like 13 million people.
In the whole greater LA area.
Greater county.
Yeah.
But, like, that's a lot.
Yeah. It's insane. But I dodged the bullet. I didn't have to go in. Matt did. And it turns out you go in, and then they just dismiss you anyway.
Yeah, we went
for
in
a plea deal, right?
Yeah, because so the trial didn't happen, and then the judge kept us there for like an hour talking to us because she's like, if I send you back later, they might not have time to assign you anymore another case in the afternoon.
Hooked you up, basically.
So we went back, and all the people at where you check back in at the holding area is like, why are you all back? And they called upstairs like, did you send them back? And I'm like, oh, okay, well you guys can go. And that was the end of it.
And now we're both free for another 18 months.
Which was great because she said if the trial had gone forward, it would have taken like a month.
Yeah.
And I would not have. I have no interest in going downtown at 8 a.m. for a month. Thank you.
I don't blame you either. And the weird thing too is that they
keep
$15
a year.
Yeah, for a day. Yeah, they always send me downtown instead of Santa Monica. I'm literally 2 miles from Santa Monica, and they make me go downtown.
That's ridiculous.
For jury cert, it's ridiculous. But anyway,
Cinetike, your employer is legally not allowed to not allow you to go.
Yeah, legally, maybe he's not in the United States.
Maybe.
I think maybe he's Canada. In the U.S.
In California, at the very least, maybe the U.S. overall, your employer cannot stop
keep you from going to jury
duty.
Yes, it's illegal to do that. But it may be different wherever you're from. Again, we don't have a lot of time to kind of sit around and goof off today. We have too much awesome stuff to get to. But before we get going, I do want to pop you guys up and thank you guys for Twitch Prime and things like that. Supermaster Gamer, thank you for Twitch Prime. Cinetike says I'm in Portugal. Yeah, that makes sense. We're already at level 3 of the hype train. You people are awesome. Who else we got in here? Glottis 21, Too Quick Capri, Toast 9, AJ the Legend Watson, Cinetike, Nexitois, McWomble. What's up, brother? Hope you're doing good. Thanks for showing up for the live stream. Not Cirque, thank you for Twitch Prime. Corey Film, thank you. Userfriendly.exe. First time chat. Welcome, buddy. Thanks for tuning in to GameFace Live. Hopefully you come back. Again, we're here every Tuesday, usually. Every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And we will be back here on that. Oh, and here we have Eric Cartmenez. Oh, who won the football game this weekend, Matt? Did you see that?
No.
Oh, the Steelers.
You know I didn't
see that. Steelers won, Matt. Yeah. Now just 8 more wins to go, and I win the bet. And I think Eric Cartmenes didn't look at the Steelers' schedule because it's a joke. And the first couple weeks were some of the toughest teams that they play the whole season, and now they get their nice and cushy schedule. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But anyway, I only need 8 more wins to go to win my bet with Eric Cartmenes. Go Steelers. And with that, we need to get going with the show. I'm telling you, I'm not joking. There's like way too much in today's show that we need to get to. So we're going to kick off housekeeping right now. Not a ton of housekeeping stories for this week because at first I thought the Xbox stuff was going to be a housekeeping story. And then the information just kept flowing like a waterfall. And I was like, it's not going to be a housekeeping story. It's going to be a real part of GameFace 358. We do have a couple smaller stories, though. Some information about Switch 2 came out again this week, Matt. And it's kind of contrary to what we heard from the Gamescom stuff. Last week we talked on the show.
But it sounds more realistic.
Realistic, yeah. So last week we talked on the show that these rumors were coming out of Gamescom, that the Switch 2 was there, and some developers got to look at it, and the developers were saying it looked like it was PlayStation 5 level. Well, now we got some new information this week.
But those of us who have been here more than 10 days were like, that's bullshit. So...
Yeah, so now we got some new information about Switch 2, and it's pointing to more humble hardware that states that it's PS4 and Xbox One level.
Nintendo's going to continue to just be a generation behind.
Yeah, I'm okay with PS4 level handheld, though. Like, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, but as someone who doesn't use it as a handheld, I think it's shit.
Yeah.
So I'll put up with it because it's the only way to play Nintendo games, but it still fucking sucks.
And I'd say this, too. There's a big difference between PS4 and PS4 Pro.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it leans a little more closely to PS4 Pro.
That's not what
it doesn't sound like it, though.
No.
Because if they compared it to Xbox One, that's the dagger. Because Xbox One was awful. So anyway...
that comparison, I think, must be more of a generational one.
Maybe, yeah.
People just don't remember how bad the Xbox One vanilla was.
Yeah, because it was bad.
Yeah. The Xbox One X, much better.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we hope that the Switch 2 leans more towards those mid-cycle refreshes, but I don't think it does either.
No, I mean, it'll be able to cheat its way to something better if they're using like a DLSS sort of solution.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, it's what I expect. It's not like it's a shock or anything. I'm not disappointed. I'm just sort of, I know.
Yeah,
that's what we thought.
I mean, that's basically what we've been saying.
The question just becomes, how much are they going to dare charge for this thing?
Yeah. How much do you think they will dare charge for it if it's PS4 level?
Probably $300.
You think so? You think they'll keep it at $300? Well, actually, that would be cheaper, wouldn't it? Was it Switch $300 or $400 at launch?
The Switch was $300.
Was it? Or $350 maybe?
No, it was $300.
Was it $300?
It was $299.
I would be surprised if this one's $300. I'll say that. 'Cause that's still $200 cheaper than PS5, or more than $200 cheaper in some territories than PS5. And
yeah,
Xbox
but Nintendo
Series.
also knows where their price range is for these things. You know, like they weren't as interested in selling you a high-end handheld as much as they were like, hey, everybody in the house needs their own Switch.
Yeah.
You know, that's sort of where they took that, and it worked.
Yeah. And they're saying that it was running that Matrix demo. Do you believe that? If it's PS4 level?
Yeah.
Maybe with DLSS.
There's not a whole lot happening in that demo, and
it's just visuals.
Yeah, with DLSS, you can. I mean, we haven't seen anything on Unreal 5 run that looks like that on PS5 since.
That's true.
And you can't look at it on PS5 anymore anyway because they shut down that demo.
That's right.
Because it uses streaming data, so I'm sure some of that is happening off the Switch too.
Right.
So but that is gone for PS5. You can't actually make it run anymore.
Here we are 7 years after the Switch launch. I still have yet to have a rooftop party with the Switch.
Yeah, I still have yet to play Metroid Prime fucking 4. So it's tough all around.
So anyway, I guess what I would say at the end of this is that it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle. A lot of times when you get a bunch of leaks and rumors like this, the reality is somewhere between all the different leaks and rumors that you get.
Yeah, I think the graphical fidelity will be about PS4 level. I think the frame rate will be better than you would expect from that hardware. I think it'll be smoother frame rate because of the DLSS.
Yeah, and the good news is they are building the Switch 2 with DLSS in mind.
Yeah, that's
important. It's key. Yeah, it's a deal breaker if they don't.
Yeah, because make it run smooth and plenty of Nintendo games look great art style wise. They don't like Luigi's Mansion 3, looks amazing. But you make it run smoother. Yeah, now you really got something.
Yeah.
So they do seem to be targeting the real. If they're not going to catch up to the modern hardware race. Which you could argue, but part of their business strategy is to literally not get involved in that. targeting smoother frame rates at all costs in that regard, while not lowering the potential power of the thing. That's the right call for what they're trying to do.
Agreed.
So.
Yeah. I think I'm hearing the right things about Switch 2 so far. I mean, I think it's kind of best case scenario what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean, best case scenario would be they actually make a
real console and not a hybrid.
Yeah. But that's not going to happen because the Switch is the most successful thing they've made in
Looking
forever.
at things realistically, I think we're hearing the best possible news.
Yeah.
So, probably, you think we'll hear more probably around Game Awards, like legit stuff from Nintendo, you think?
No. I think they're
not even like a tease or anything?
I think they're going to wait till next year.
Okay. Next up.
Why throw anyone off their Christmas shopping at that point? Just save it for next year.
Yeah, that's probably the right move. Next up, something that may upset PlayStation fans. We found out this week that The Elder Scrolls 6, as of right now, is not planned to launch for PlayStation. And Matt...
No shit.
I'm a little confused by this, though, because if you remember...
I'm not.
You're not?
They bought Bethesda. Nothing was ever coming to PlayStation again. This ain't Call of Duty.
Here's the thing. So
the FTC didn't try to shut them down on this one.
Yeah, that's true. But the FTC, I just remember a lot of those discussions were all around like, well, if it's already been available for PlayStation, then it needs to be available for PlayStation going forward. And
only because there were contracts in place.
Yeah. No, I don't think it was contracts, though.
Well, that was the thing, was the contract with PlayStation was going to run out at a certain point, and would COD still be on there after that? There is no contract for Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
Like, they own Bethesda. They get to have all... It's just like Insomniac's Spider-Man game isn't going to be on Xbox. Like, they bought Insomniac. Like, no one loses their minds when that happens when Sony does it, so...
Oh, look, I agree with you on all those fronts. It's just... To me, there's confusing signals coming out here. Like, I thought that Microsoft was going to adhere to the idea that if a franchise had previously appeared on PlayStation...
No, that was purely Call of Duty. That was only Call of Duty.
It seemed like it was all of them. Because they started arguing... No, because then they said that Redfall was okay to be an Xbox exclusive because it had never appeared on PlayStation.
Mm-hmm. But
so Microsoft was considering that for sure.
Maybe, but they would never do that with this. That would be ridiculous.
I mean, I agree. It's dumb, and they should be allowed to do whatever the hell they want. I'm just saying that the verbiage coming out of all these hearings, this flies in the face of that, is what I'm saying.
I don't think it does.
Okay.
I think it's...
I do, but...
I think they were vague enough that that's not what that means. And
I don't think the FTC is going to come back at them
of course not.
4 years from now when it comes out. And
also, really, that could have just meant Skyrim.
Yeah,
Skyrim is pretty much his own franchise.
Yeah, I mean they could try to position it that way.
No one really remembers that those games are called Elder Scrolls.
Certainly the FTC doesn't. I tell you that much. But anyway, I'll be honest. Like,
I think
the thing
you have a better case on with that is the Oblivion remaster.
Yeah. Because the other thing, too, is Starfield. There was a big discussion about that. And they're like, but Starfield's a new IP. It was never on PlayStation. So we're cleared for takeoff exclusivity on Xbox. Like, there was discussion around all these games related to this. And I agree with you. It's bullcrap. Like, they should be allowed to release that game for whatever they want. They own Bethesda. They own the IP. I'm just saying Microsoft was doing some toe tapping around stuff like this, trying to get the deal to go through. And now that the deal's gone through, it feels like it's starting to backtrack a little bit on some of the stuff that it said. But again, I agree with you 1,000%.
A bunch of this stuff was also in the documents from years ago, so it doesn't. This was never in the cards ever.
Yeah.
And we also know that one of the reasons that they really went for Bethesda was because Sony was starting to court them to have Starfield be exclusive to PlayStation.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was part of the fight there. It always was.
Yeah.
Call of Duty is just too big to have that argument about, really. Like,
I mean,
that was the
Elder
problem.
Scrolls, pretty big. How many copies has Skyrim sold at this point?
I mean, they sold a lot of copies, but it's
like
not
80 million, maybe?
No, it's not comparable. It's a yearly... Call of Duty is a yearly, basically an ongoing service.
It's 20 to 25 million a year.
These games come out once a human generation, not a console generation.
Yeah, and out of the gate they sell around 14 million or whatever. Starfield's already at 10 million.
Yes, well, Starfield's the biggest launch they've ever had.
And you can get it basically for free.
It was, I mean, that's bigger than Skyrim. Skyrim took much longer to get to
it did. That. Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, if you're a PlayStation
you can only
fan,
imagine what Starfield will look like in 10 years.
Yeah,
because the modding and all that. Some dude I saw today had an 80-minute demo of he got literally 2,000 mods on Skyrim, and it looks like it came out yesterday.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's pretty crazy. It
and
really
it's
is.
Like Starfield's going to have that same thing.
Oh yeah, yep, absolutely. I guess there's good news and bad news if you're a PlayStation owner and you like Bethesda's RPGs. The bad news,
but if you do, you must not have been playing on PlayStation because they
They're always terrible.
Kind of always terrible. I mean, the PlayStation version of the Bethesda stuff is always the worst.
Yeah. Well, the bad news, if you're a PlayStation owner...
Skyrim never even worked properly on the PS3, and they never managed to fix it.
Yeah. The bad news, if you're a PlayStation owner and you like Bethesda's RPGs, is that you're not going to get the next one. The good news is that's 4 years from now. So it's going to be 4 years until you're going to be really sad about the fact that you cannot play it.
You got plenty of time to just get another Xbox or whatever the next thing is, or a PC or whatever. We'll
start talking about a little bit about that when we start talking about these leaks that came out, because there was a bunch of really interesting stuff in those leaks that we're going to get to here in a minute. But anyway, it appears Elder Scrolls 6 going to be an Xbox and probably PC exclusive. Next up, announced this week, and we're just here to help you guys, is that this week there was an Xbox Mastercard was announced and launched. And I could see where it'd be very easy if you're a big Xbox fan to just want to get the card and just, when you pay for stuff, you're representing that you're an Xbox. I understand that whole psychological angle to it. But I'm going to tell you right now, don't get that card. No matter how much you like Xbox, don't get the card. We've said this before. Get a card that gives you points and buy everything with it. And you get free stuff just for buying stuff you would normally buy anyway. There are no points on this Xbox Mastercard.
Who the hell has Mastercard anymore?
Actually, you're right. Like, it feels like it's just disappeared.
Yeah, it did. They did a similar thing to... They actually did a similar thing to what Unity did, where they just did a bunch of weird shit and everybody just dropped them and switched to Visa.
Is that what happened?
I had a MasterCard for most of my life until they did some fuckery, and Wells Fargo was just like, we're dropping them and we're all Visa now.
Oh, now Discover Card is like bigger than MasterCard.
Yeah, MasterCard, they fucked up.
They really screwed up.
They stabbed their own foot to death, basically. Yeah. It was really dumb.
So anyway,
I don't remember the details, but it was all the reason. You remember back in the day, it was like Visa and Mastercard, Visa and Mastercard.
Yeah,
everything. You said them together every time.
And you walk into a store, the sticker, Visa and Mastercard, Visa and Mastercard,
and now never.
Yeah, you're right. Now Discover's way popular.
Now you can't even do that Renaissance Fair joke. It was like Lady Visa and Mastercard.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Now everyone's like, who the fuck is Mastercard?
Hashtag old. But anyway, stay away from that Mastercard. I understand the psychological angle may be pushing you to go that direction. That's a really bad idea. As Matt just hinted at, big story with Unity this week. What the hell? The Duck Consulting. Once again, roll us on in there. Give us 10 grand. We'll save you.
There are unforced errors, and then there's this.
Oh, my God. So Unity, as you know, is...
Although that Baldur's Gate reveal about Microsoft, close. That one of the reasons Baldur's Gate is not on Xbox is because Xbox thought it was second run Stadia RPG? Like, I could have told you were wrong about that 2 fucking years ago.
Who are their consultants? Because they're so bad.
Some people should be fired
because
for that.
First there was Redfall, where their consultants thought it was going to be a 9.
No, complete, yeah. I don't know what world these people are living in, where Baldur's Gate 3 is an also ran and Redfall's your next big hit, but no. And I didn't need to even touch those games to tell you that.
Xbox, whoever you are paying for this information, fire them.
Fire them and pay us half that.
We'll take half. Yeah. The Duck Consulting Agency make checks payable too. This is insane. So Unity is an engine where you can build games. And a lot of indie developers use Unity because it was one of the first engines that was like friendly to people who didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's basically like you can build stuff and you don't really have to pay as much money until you sell it. And then Unity now all of a sudden has decided to change how it makes money by, what is it, in-game installs now? Which is like ridiculous.
Which can also include just loading it up in a browser.
Right. It's
like, it would bankrupt
everybody that uses Unity.
Yeah, it's astounding.
Let's be honest, very few big developers are using Unity for games. Like, most of them are using Unreal Engine or their own proprietary engine anymore. The vast majority of people who use Unity are indie developers, people who are working in their garage with 5 of their buddies or whatever. Like, Unity did not understand its customer. That's the problem.
Like, it could be like, you could be like charging. They could be like, if you're an indie developer, you might have already sold all your copies, and then it ends up on Game Pass or it ends up in a Humble Bundle, and all of a sudden you're getting charged for the installs because a bunch of people got it in the Humble Bundle for like 3 cents.
Yeah, and you wonder too if Microsoft would protect that information and not give it to Unity because it knows what Unity's going to do with the information. The whole thing was asinine.
Yeah, basically Unity's over.
But it's over. Maybe. It has now gone back, kind of. Not fully back.
No one will ever trust them again.
But you're right.
And already,
the trust is gone.
Already there are publishers like Devolver and some of these, they're like, you need to make sure you tell us when you pitch your game to us, you got to tell us what engine it's on, because if it's on Unity, we basically aren't fucking with that.
No, it matters. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, because no one trusts them not to do that again, unless maybe what they should do is get rid of Riccatello. I mean, whoever, I don't know how you let that go through.
The Abram brings up a really good point. He says Genshin Impact is on Unity and it's free to play. Imagine that combo. I mean, already that game has been installed 20 million times, maybe?
Yeah.
What are they thinking?
They thinking they want a piece of that.
I mean, you can't.
But it's crazy. It's like, what world did you think that was going to fly in?
I mean, here's the thing. If you want a piece of that, you don't take the piece from the creators. You take the piece from the people who are making the money on it.
It's like somebody made a comparison to what Wizards of the Coast tried to do earlier, before, in the last year or so, where they tried to start getting a cut of any time anyone created their own D&D world or game and all that. And it's like, no, that's the antithesis of why this works. Yeah. It's like, it's like Unity looked at that and was like, oh, that's a really good idea. It's like, no, it's not. It really isn't a good idea. It's one of the worst ideas anyone has ever had, and the idea that it went through the idea that anyone who brought that up in some meeting didn't get laughed out of the building and then probably terminated, is, and I mean terminated by a robot with a gun. I mean like Arnold Schwarzenegger terminated. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable.
Well, we'll play taps for Unity because it is indeed dead. Just insane. So anyway, Unity just destroyed its business.
Yeah, I did like you see what the Terraria guys did?
No.
They were, because the Terraria guy, I can't remember the name of their company. It's like R something or Re something. Mm-hmm. But they were like, we think this is ridiculous, and so they donated $100,000 each to Godot and another competing upcoming independent game engine. And are now going to every month they're going to send each of those game engines projects $1,000 a month to help keep them working, because they're like, we need something to replace Unity that everybody can trust, and we think these two are the best, and we're going to throw a bunch of our money towards it because we think that we think it needs to happen. And Unity is basically, it's like, it's not just that Unity fucked up, is that the absence of Unity will cause an actual real problem.
A ripple, yeah. More than a ripple.
In that part of the gaming world. So everyone's scrambling to figure out what to do next. And there were jokes about Silk Song delayed another 4 years to put it on a new engine and all this shit. It's like, oh.
Hey. Yep. So anyway, Unity just destroyed its business, basically.
Relogic, that's what it is. That's the people that made Terraria.
Yeah.
Terraria.
So anyway, R.I.P. Unity. you only have yourself to blame. Next up, a lot of people have complained about how Bethesda signed a deal with AMD for Starfield and how it kept things like DLSS.
Except it didn't, according to AMD.
And as it turns out, AMD is like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, we don't do that.
We don't make those deals.
Yeah.
And so now Bethesda has come out and said, all right, well, DLSS support and FOV slider support, it's all coming very shortly. Mm-hmm. The bottom line is they just couldn't get it ready for launch.
Which is weird because someone had it working in a day after it came out. It's like,
just a fan got it working in a day. It's just bizarre.
Your fucking move, Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, exactly.
Still doesn't have DLSS.
Yeah, I know.
Still doesn't run right on.
I just saw
NVIDIA
Digital
cards.
Foundry just put out an updated analysis of it yesterday. It's up on Sifted, and it's just like,
yeah.
What are you doing?
It runs better, but it doesn't run how it should.
Yeah. Still, it's a mess. So. And you do wonder, I still am confused why Stig left Respawn. I hope someday we'll figure out what happened there, but I wonder if there's weird stuff going on behind the scenes there that made him leave. But the good news is, if you're a PC player and you're enjoying Starfield, it shouldn't be long. You'll have DLSS support and an FOV slider and all the other stuff that most PC games have, and Starfield should have had at launch. Next up, we found out this week that Electronic Arts Entertainment, remember they split apart now, it's EA Entertainment and EA Sports. One of the latest projects from EA Entertainment, Wild Hearts. It is a Monster Hunter clone. Was this made by Team Ninja? Is that right?
It
was made by Omega Force, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right. I don't know, I blocked this one out.
Yeah, it was an EA game made by a Japanese developer, which never happens, and maybe it shouldn't have happened, because after just 7 months on the market, EA is ready to shut down Wild Hearts.
Of course they are.
And
just like the company that made Immortals of Avium, they just half their company got laid off.
Yeah, which is really gross and nasty. And what does this do? This tells consumers, players, fans that unless something goes gangbusters right out of the gate, EA's going to drop it.
Yeah.
So you lose consumer confidence in your brand at that point. And it's like, wait, should I jump into this? Should I buy this game? What happens if other people don't buy it? Is EA just going to take it offline in 5 months and my purchase is going to be worth it? Because this game is really only worth it to play online with other people. Once the servers go down, this game is basically worthless. So EA's entertainment group, I don't know what it's doing. I don't know why it's signing these games. If you rewind back to when we covered this game on GameFace, pretty much the crux of my discussion was why? Like, what the hell? Why would EA publish this game? This is not in its wheelhouse. It never works with Japanese developers, ever. It apparently doesn't really understand the Japanese market either. Again.
And you'd have to, I don't know what kind of world you have to live in where you think that anyone can take on Monster Hunter.
I know.
There is no room for that.
No.
Like, I would not.
For me, there's not.
One of the last things I'd want to try to make would be something to compete directly with Monster Hunter, because Monster Hunter basically owns its niche.
Yeah, because people only want a new game like that once every few years, and Monster Hunter delivers it right on time. And it's a good game. Like, I understand they see the money that Capcom's making or whatever. They're like, well, we want a piece of that. Well, it takes more than just hiring some lackey Japanese studio to make a game for you to do that. And if you remember, like, the verbiage in this game and the way everything was phrased, it was, like, very confusing and weird. Like, it was just too Japanese, and I don't understand why EA ever agreed to do this game or publish this game. I feel like EA is headed where Konami is, where eventually you're only going to get a bunch of mobile games and its sports lineup, and all its other stuff is just going to be gone.
Well, I was talking with some of my developer friends today after the Criterion news came out, that they're going to basically force Criterion to work on Battlefield now. I think under Vince. But, like,
yeah.
Does EA realize that Battlefield doesn't have to exist?
Yeah.
Like, it ain't 2008 anymore. You don't have to have a military shooter on the market. Call of Duty is its own perpetual thing, sure.
Yeah.
But, like, it's over.
Yeah.
Like, no one gives a shit about
Battlefield 2042 did pretty much kill the franchise.
Yeah. Like, you're done. Like, move on to do something else. You're sitting on a giant gold mine of even if you don't want to come up with something new, EA's sitting on one of the biggest gold mine backlog, like, vaults of IP you could ever think. Like, where's Burnout 3 Remastered?
Right.
Where's Wing Commander Collection?
Why are you taking Criterion off of making driving games?
Well, I mean, I think we've had our shot at trying to make. I always forget Need for Speed is a thing.
Unbound wasn't that long ago.
It was last year. Yeah, but it's like, again, maybe Need for Speed doesn't need to exist all the time.
That's what I'm getting at, Matt. Like, I feel like EA's entire entertainment division doesn't need to exist anymore.
Yeah, but it's also like it's gotten so small because it used to put out so much stuff.
Not anymore.
And now you're like, where did that all go? I mean, it seems like a miracle that the Dead Space remaster made it out.
And they're probably not going to make another one of those because that also tanked. So, EA, I don't know. I do feel like maybe because of all this, EA might be ripe for acquisition. But then, do you want it?
No, you'd have to want to do something with their vault,
their old IP,
like their old. Like you'd have to. I mean, which again, maybe like Starfield's a big deal. Starfield, is clearly going to be critical mass on a leveled up. So putting something like that on PlayStation would be an interesting idea. Somebody should go in and pick up Starflight, which is sitting in EA's vault, and make a game like that out of that.
Again, the people the EA is paying for consulting work are terrible. They're terrible. The people who told them to sign this game, the people who told them to bring back Dead Space, all that stuff ended up being terrible decisions, and they got bad information from people.
I mean, even Immortals of Avium was not.
That was a bad decision.
Pick.
Yeah. Game technically great, craftsmanship great, but nobody wants it.
And like, I think if you did another one with what they already learned from it and beefed it up and made it a little more robust in a bunch of different areas, you'd have something really special on your hands. But again, you have to be willing to commit to the long game on that, and EA never does that.
As we're seeing right now with this game. So I'm almost ready to play taps for EA at this point, Matt. Like, I feel like it's that close to just tapping out of the entertainment side of the games. Like, it's making all its money on mobile and its sports games. Eventually, it's going to figure it out, and it's just going to stop.
If they didn't have Respawn, it wouldn't be any relevance. And then, like, meanwhile, Respawn's like, yeah, we're just going to put online play back into Titanfall 2 this week. For no good reason. Like, just here you go. There it is. And it's just like, great, awesome. Like,
why? But
why is Respawn the only division of EA that seems to be able to do anything right at this point?
Which is why you're seeing Vince Zampella getting promoted.
Oh, yeah.
And I do think that maybe Stig was not promoted to the head of Respawn when Vince got promoted up, and I think that's maybe why he left. Hopefully we'll find out.
I wonder who would be, though.
Who else would it be? And look, if that's the case, I understand why Stig would leave. Be like, F you, man. Who else are you going to hire for that job? Like,
yeah.
Who knows? I think we'll find out someday.
Their output, obviously, Apex Legends has been a big deal, but like their output has been Stig Star Wars games.
Yeah.
For 2 in a row.
Those are also selling like 14, 15 million copies, which by EA standards is a boon.
That's through the roof, for sure.
That's
especially considering single player games are dead and nobody wants them.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
EA's been wrong about everything for a very long time.
It really has. Yeah. It's been run by idiots for a long time, apparently. So anyway, EA's Wild Hearts going by. If you enjoyed that game, you better play as much as you can. It's gone in 7 months. Next up, we found out this week that The Sims 5 will be free to play. Again, another EA Entertainment. This is one franchise that has done pretty well, but this is a big change for The Sims. How do you think that it's going to go over?
I don't know. It depends how they're going to integrate things, because they do seem like they're going to keep Sims 4 still existing alongside it.
Because they just released an expansion pack for The Sims 4 like yesterday. Yeah.
But it's like, you got to change up how you approach Sims, because you can't keep doing the thing that they've done now 3 times, which is like, all right, we're just going to go back to vanilla, and you got to rebuy basically the same expansions again as we make them over again in the new system.
Yep.
People were real sick of that, and there was a whole 4 had a big problem where people wouldn't leave 3,
right?
Because they had so much mods, so much modding.
You put that much money into it, you don't want to leave.
Yeah, it's like, why would you?
Yeah. I think they should call this just The Sims again. They should reboot it and just make it a platform going forward, so people know, to your point, that if they buy stuff and they buy DLC and cosmetics, they're going to have them forever.
Yeah. That would be the way to do it.
So maybe that's what's going to happen. I mean, they haven't technically announced it yet.
I think it's smart to not abandon 4.
Yeah.
Keep that as a living platform.
It's one of the few
and eventually
things
kind of bring 5 into parity with that, and then maybe drop the 5 and just call it The Sims, and this is what it is now.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see what they do with that. But
again, that's the long game, and EA doesn't really do that.
It's one of the few franchises that EA has that still makes money, is The Sims, as far as its entertainment portfolio versus its sports portfolio. So we'll see. Again, we don't even know it's The Sims 5 yet, so it could be a total reboot just called The Sims.
Yeah, all we know it's the 5th game.
The 5th game, yeah.
Could be anything.
So we'll see. And then
unless you count herbs.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that's right, the herbs. And then the final note is Tokyo Game Show is coming up this week. Normally, not normally, but back in the early aughts, this would be
15 years ago.
This would be
somebody would have cared.
Someone would have cared. Not so much anymore. And I am kind of seeing the early stuff coming out. The one thing I would say is keep your nose to the ground for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because it does appear that it is going to be blown out big time at Tokyo Game Show. And we'll get to Rebirth here in a little bit when we talk about Sony State of Play from last week. But that does appear to be one game that a lot of you guys will be interested in from Tokyo Game Show, and we'll have all that stuff curated for you, ready to rock at sifted.net, just like every convention. There's no other place to go for any convention but sifted.net. And like I said, we got a big show, so that's all we have for housekeeping this week. How much time we got? It's still 40 minutes. It's still going to be tight, I think, trying to get it all done in time, but we'll do our best. But before we get into the show proper, it's time to hear a word from our awesome sponsor, LS Cream. LS Cream is a fine cream liqueur created by fellow gamer and sifter Stevens Charles. It's inspired by an ancestral recipe from Haiti called Cray Mass, and a double gold winner for its original taste at the New York Wine and Spirit International Competition. LS Cream can be enjoyed on the rocks or as a mixer for drinks with its rich blend of fresh cream and neutral grain spirits with notes of coconut, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg. It's great in coffee or to make espresso martinis. To learn more, discover amazing drink recipes, or to track down your own bottle using a handy store locator, head to creamls.com/sifted. That's creamls.com/sifted. A big thanks to LS Cream for being our sponsor here for GameFace. As the ad says, go to creamls.com/sifted. You can find a store locator there. You can order it online. You can find recipes, learn how to make awesome drinks with LS Cream. And one thing I would say is LS Cream is extremely versatile. You can even just put a little bit in your coffee in the morning if you want to. I won't tell. And no one will be able to tell. It's not like a crazy strong liquor either. Like, you can just mix it with like fun, good tasting drinks and just gives a little bit of a tweak. But you'd probably have to drink, I would guess, half a bottle of LS Cream to feel a buzz off of it. It's not a high alcohol content. It's a liqueur. So it's not something that you take a drink of it and you're like, oh my gosh, like it just mixes nice and smooth with other spirits. If you'd like
17%.
That's liqueur though. Yeah. I mean, you talk about vodka or whatever, it's like 40, 50%. Yeah. So yeah. But it's a great mixer with so many different things. Again, go to creamls.com.
Get there faster than beer.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, if you drink that, I mean, that's like 5 times beer or whatever, 4 times beer. But anyway, head to creamls.com/sifted, that's SIFTD, and learn all about this awesome liqueur. And with that, it is time to kick things off for GameFace 358 proper. We're going to kick things off with the huge Xbox leaks that happened yesterday. Now, you guys may be, at this point, maybe glazing over with the Xbox leaks because there was all this information that came out during the FTC hearings over the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. That was just the tip of the iceberg. In fact, most of the information we got from those leaks, or they weren't even really leaks, they were just discovery, were like fun, but not like real serious stories. It was almost like anecdotal stuff. The stuff that we got yesterday, serious stories. Like, we basically now have the roadmap for Xbox for the next, 8 years?
Well, we have what it was, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
These are very old documents for the most part.
Well, I thought most of them were 2020. They were from 2020, right?
Yeah.
So it's 3 years ago. That's not that long, though.
That's
because a lot of these plans...
But, you look at the Bethesda schedule, and it's none of that's right anymore because so much stuff slipped.
Maybe
Starfield pushed, everything's pushed, all this stuff. The only notable revelation game-wise in any of this was that Dishonored 3 might exist, which I did not expect to happen.
Oh, there's Fallout 3 remaster. There's other stuff. Anyway, I have everything set up. We need to talk about it in a very specific order.
I just agree with Sessler. I don't think this is all that big. It's like
okay.
It's a big leap.
We just found out about 3 new Xbox consoles.
Well, they're new shells.
Huh?
Like the console refresh is the same hardware with a different. It's a circle now.
There's others though that are not. Okay, let's talk about
in the far future. But
okay, so 3 new Xboxes were uncovered.
I think this is a lot of noise about nothing for the most part.
You are on an island on that one because the internet's exploding.
I will sit on that. Well, yeah, because you and
Sessler are sitting on an island.
Me and Sessler were sitting on the island of being correct, and you guys can drive for clicks. Let's go. Let's see. Because this was all really dull to me, frankly.
What? How?
Because most of it was either stuff that was obvious or so far in the future that it's probably not even relevant because it's 3-year-old documents about shit that's going to happen in 2028.
Okay, we'll get to something that if you tell me it didn't blow your mind, I'll call you a liar. Eventually we'll get to it. Because I don't know how it could not blow your mind. But anyway, 3 new consoles were leaked, released, whatever. And as it turns out, this was all Microsoft's fault. Because it uploaded documents to the court website it was that they had not even requested.
Well, this is technically still discovery. It's just somebody didn't encrypt what they were uploading.
Maicrosoft basically overshared.
Someone again probably should be fired for this one.
It's a huge mistake.
The problem is not even the scheduling and the more serious stuff are the emails.
There's some embarrassing stuff in there.
The main thing is guys, keep some of this shit to the meetings. Don't email each other about some of it. I have never... there are some things that even if I was in a business situation where I thought some of this stuff, I would never put that in retrievable, right? No. I wouldn't even text message somebody that shit.
You'd be shocked how many stupid people there are.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
It's really crazy. So anyway, 3 new pieces of hardware were revealed through these documents. Whether they actually come out when they say they are, who knows? But the first one is called Elwood, ELLEWOOD, which is a light refresh of Xbox Series S, which is set for September 2024. As of right now, or as of those documents anyway. Who knows now when stuff will come out. But we got, let me see if I can get the right one up here. Yep. So these documents, by the way, PowerPoint present, all this stuff was in there uploaded. Here is the launch timelines for consoles that Microsoft uploaded again to that court website. So you can see there, It shows you like Xbox Series X and S when they launched, and then if you look down at the bottom there, it says mid-gen console announcement. So they're basically planning on announcing,
and that's June next year.
Next year, right? They're basically planning on it. They were planning on announcing Elwood like the middle of next year,
or they were in like 2020.
Right. And then you can see if you go ahead to September there, that the Elwood 1 terabyte Xbox Series S launches at $299. Then you go to November, and that's when, and by the way, both of these would be announced next June for release in September, and then in November, the Brooklyn 2 terabyte launch unit, which is a disc-free Xbox Series X.
Yeah, you basically it's an Xbox Series X, but you trade the disk drive for a terabyte of storage.
Yep, and I think actually maybe 2 terabytes. Yeah, 2 terabytes. You can see it there.
Yeah, but the old
you're saying
X
you get the
had
extra
a terabyte, so
Gotcha,
you get 2 in this one. So you get a terabyte in exchange for the disk drive.
disk drive. How do you feel about that?
I'd probably take it if I didn't already have one, because I don't think I've actually used the disk drive for anything.
I've used it like 3 times, I think.
Certainly not. I've used the disk drive on the PlayStation more.
Me too. Yeah.
But again, this is the exact same hardware as the X. It's just got an extra terabyte in it. And the Elwood, I think, was an extra 500 gigs?
500 gigs, yeah.
So basically a little more storage space, which is good.
Well, they actually, remember, they had that black carbon.
But I struggle to call these new systems. They're the same hardware. They're not more powerful. They're not going to run the games any different.
That's true.
They're just you're just going to not have to delete stuff as often.
Well, the Elwood is also kind of redundant now, because the black carbon Series S, doesn't it already have a 1 terabyte drive?
I don't actually know.
I think it does. But they bumped up the price $50. I think it's $350 for the black carbon.
And the new 2 terabyte thing, I think it's a cylinder now instead of a box.
I have an image of that as well. So here is
like, all right, sure.
Here's what Brooklyn looks like.
As long as you don't have to put a disk drive in it, I guess you don't have to have edges.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's basically just like a circle, like.
Yeah. It's an X. That's not a box anymore.
Yeah. How do you feel about that design?
I don't know. It looks like a Alexa or something. It's
just a cylinder. Like, first it was just a rectangle. Now the new one's just a cylinder. But again, this is just Xbox Series X hardware. Although you can see here in this graphic, there are a lot of tweaks, Matt. Now, it doesn't make it more powerful, but it makes it like more energy efficient. There's new Wi-Fi and stuff in it. There's new components in it, but the base hardware, the GPU and CPU, stay the same.
The part that I actually care about,
do stay the same. I think that it looks terrible. I'm not a fan of that console design at all. But again, this was back in 2020. This could all be changed. I would argue, Matt, that this stuff is so far along that it's probably coming true.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll be on the same timeline, but like it's
probably going to happen.
Seems like they're already mostly there.
Yeah.
Like this doesn't seem like a proposal so much as like here as a plan.
Right. Yep.
So,
and then here's another graphic that was pulled out of the uploaded documents, and it says each generation of Xbox has also brought new innovations to Microsoft. And so they show Xbox Series X with Project X Cloud and cloud gaming, and then cloud hybrid games for the new consoles that come out in
which
2028.
They've been promising for 3 generations now.
Yeah, and I don't know what the immersive game and app platform is supposed to mean.
I don't know. That seems like the most generic, vague business speak bullshit I've ever read.
Yeah. So anyway,
you're gonna make the games immersive now? Wow. Yeah. I guess you should have thought of that 20 years ago with the first Xbox, but at least you're getting to it now. This is all nonsense. Like this is all crap you'd see in a business meeting that you forget 5 minutes later.
Well, this is what they send to each other to brainwash each other inside the company.
and you'll notice like it goes from low to full.
Right. Yeah.
What the fuck does that mean?
We've all worked at companies where we got presentations like this, and like you sit there and act like you're paying attention, and as soon as you walk out, you start laughing.
Yeah, well, finally, in the 5th generation of Xbox, we got as green as we always wanted it to be. That's apparently what that means. I don't know.
Yep. So anyway, and then there's also another console called the XDL, and the XDL is basically the Brooklyn, except you can use the Xbox Design Lab to customize the cylindric. Is that correct? Is that the right word?
Yeah, whatever. The
console
cylinder,
with skins or whatever. So you can color it however you want, kind of like what you can do with the controllers right now at Xbox Design Lab. And again, that's called the XDL.
Yeah, once again, I struggle to call that a new system. Like, it's dumb. Like it's real dumb. Like it's like who wants? Like, I mean, customizing your controller was kind of a cool idea. Not that I ever ended up doing it, but like I can see the appeal of that. This one is just like what?
Yeah.
All right. Like I don't know. Like, it's the obsession with customization. It feels left over from that like Xbox 360 launch presentation with Jay Allard.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no one gives a shit, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, people do.
They do, but it's enough to go through a separate website and wait an extra amount of time.
I mean, I would never do it.
Other than like just go to Best Buy or Walmart and buy things.
Yeah.
Like, it just seems so neat. And like, what happens if something breaks on that thing? Now you're custom. It's not like you can just exchange it. You gotta like
have to get it customized again.
Get it back.
Or,
like, it just seems like more trouble than it's worth.
Yep. So anyway, that's the new hardware that's supposed to get Xbox out to 2028, which is a long ways away still. And you're right, like it is a little disappointing that they're looking at 2028 and they're not looking at improving the performance of the console. That is a little concerning.
I mean, at least they were accurate when Phil kept saying like we don't need a Pro version, because they're clearly not. They're
not interested.
Add a little more storage and let you, I don't know, fuck with the case a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there's probably better cooling, and it doesn't cost as much to run. Like, it's greener. Like, it's made out of like recyclable materials.
Maybe that's what the arrow means. It's
maybe
full green.
Now you can throw it in a landfill.
Right.
That's what it means.
You can't do that with the original Xbox. It'll mutate all the deer.
Yeah. And then the other final piece of hardware that was leaked out in all these documents is a brand new Xbox controller that looks like a black and white cookie. Mm-hmm. The controller is called the Sebile, Sebile. I've never heard that word before. Have you?
Sebile?
Sebile? I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
The others are all misspelled too, so maybe it's supposed to be Seville.
Maybe.
Like Seville.
I don't know.
Because Brooklyn's spelled wrong. Elwood is spelled wrong. Or are they Blues Brothers references? Is that what they are?
Maybe.
Is there a Seville something?
Maybe.
In Blues Brothers? I don't remember.
That's funny. That's a good catch, though. So this controller is basically Xbox's answer to the DualSense.
Yeah.
It has haptic feedback, haptic triggers. It has a gyro. It has brand new analog sticks. It has crazy connectivity, so it connects to like anything. Basically, it's Bluetooth. It'll connect to your phone or your iPad, your tablet, your PC, your Xbox. Ugly is sin.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, there'll be more than just black or white. They'll have other two-tone like color schemes or whatever. But I would argue Xbox needs this, and I would hope that it doesn't wait until 2028 to release its controller. Like, its controller is behind. That's just the truth.
Unless you have one of the Elites.
Even the Elites are behind as far as haptic feedback and all that stuff is concerned.
I cannot express to you how much I don't care about
I do like it. And
the only thing that I am impressed by with this controller is that it's cheaper than I would think they would make that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you get the DualSense for $80, so
yeah, but it has
to compete.
But they could easily frame this as sort of an Elite
2,
or not an Elite 3. They already have an Elite 2,
right?
But they could easily frame this as something between the normal controller and the Elite and go for like 100.
That's true. Yeah,
but it seems like they're going for 70, which is.
They're going to try to make it the default controller, which they should. And I do like the haptic feedback. I don't like it in everything. Like I
don't like it enough to buy a $70 controller separately for it.
Yeah.
I don't mind if it comes with the system next time.
That's what I'm guessing. My guess is this controller is packed in with all the new consoles. The Elwood, the Brooklyn, the XDL.
I would think so.
I just think
unless it really is 2028, in which case... No, because that's next year.
Well, they may start packing it in with the existing Series X or Series S consoles,
I wouldn't think this would take that much time to roll out as like the new standard.
Yeah. They need to do it, and I think this is a good product, and I think it'll do well. I've liked pretty much all Xbox's controllers. It's just falling a little bit behind PlayStation right now, and it just needs to catch up.
I just don't agree with that. I think there's still better controllers. Like, yes, they do not have the haptic feedback and the touchscreen thing, but I don't care about those.
But see, I don't like the triggers on the Elite either. The triggers on the DualSense are way better for playing games. There's way more action. They're not clicky click. They're clicky like buttons.
Are not clicky.
I don't like the shoulder buttons on the Xbox controllers as much as the DualSense anymore.
I once again, playing Mortal Kombat, have reestablished myself that I still don't think the shoulder buttons on the PlayStation work properly. I mix the two of them up all the time. I never do that on the Xbox. Ever.
Well, we'll just agree to disagree. I like DualSense way better than Xbox controller, and you like Xbox better than DualSense.
Yeah. I mean, just the fact that the Xbox controller is still skewed sticks, instantly better.
See, I can jump between them. It doesn't make any difference to me.
I
can pick one up, set it down, and pick the other one right back up, and it makes no difference.
I mean, it's not like I have trouble playing on the DualSense, but it's just more comfortable to play that way. Right. And I don't understand why they think their buttons need to be quieter. I don't think either of the controllers are particularly loud.
I think Xbox buttons are clicky-clacky. I think the D-pad's clicky-clacky.
I don't remember.
Definitely on the Elite, the D-pad is like clack, 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 clack.
No.
Pull it out. It's right there. And hit it.
I don't think it's in there.
Oh. Dude, they're definitely clicky.
I mean, I use an Elite 2, which isn't clicky at all.
I do too. That's what I have. And it definitely makes my DualSense makes no noise when I use the D-pad. It's silent. You can hear using the D-pad on the Elite 2. You can. You know that.
I don't use the D-pad much, so.
Okay.
But it's just, it's so nitpicky bullshit that that the idea of paying $70 to fix that is crazy.
That's just one of like 20 things. Like,
yeah, but none of that is interesting to me.
To you.
I don't think.
I don't disassociating yourself from everybody else.
No, I don't really. Because a lot of the times, what I think does end up being aligning with how those things perform.
I mean, most people love the DualSense.
I mean, most people have loved the PlayStation controllers since the beginning, but I don't. I've never liked them.
I haven't either until the DualSense.
The DualSense is the first one I think is even decent.
DualShock 4 was pretty good.
DualShock 4 was an improvement, but it still wasn't very good.
Before that, I hated PlayStation controllers. Now, I think they have the best controllers.
They've definitely improved it, but they're not against the Elite 2.
I disagree.
I use the Elite 2 on
the
I use the Elite 2 on the PC for a reason. I could certainly put a DualSense on it if I wanted to, but nah.
Nah, I like DualSense better. We've been asking for forever. We've been trying to figure out what, and again, I can't understand why you don't think there's news here, Matt. This is crazy that you don't think that there's news in this. We've been trying to figure out forever, like, what Microsoft is paying publishers, developers to put games on Game Pass. And we had no clue. Now we have a clue. We've now learned that typically publishers of big AAA third-party games expect Microsoft to pay them $100 to $300 million to put their game on Game Pass. That is insane.
It's about what I would have thought.
Really? You thought it was that high?
Because you're trying to offset everything you would have sold on that platform, maybe plus a little bit more from people who might have been choosing between, PC or PlayStation 5 or Xbox, and who are then going to Xbox because they get it, quote unquote, for free through Game Pass. And that about adds up to what you'd expect in lost sales from something that is going to sell a ridiculous amount of copies in a AAA space.
See, I wasn't looking at it that way. Like, look, if you want to get a third-party game...
I wasn't sure if Microsoft was actually playing ball on that level, but if I was a third-party publisher, that's what I would be asking for. I wasn't sure if Microsoft was actually paying that kind of money, but clearly they are.
I would ask for that much money.
It's certainly where you start in a negotiation with Microsoft on it. I'm a little bit surprised that anyone got $300 million out of them. I assume that's for like Red Dead or something.
If I was a publisher, if Microsoft wanted the game exclusively on Game Pass, sure. That makes total financial sense. But if you're just like saying, well, we're going to put it on Game Pass for a month, and you're also going to be able to buy it, and once it disappears off Game Pass, you're going to continue to be able to buy it at full price. That seems outrageous.
It doesn't seem outrageous to me, really, because of how front-loaded sales are these days.
But the problem
and not just for games, for everything.
The problem is nobody's buying games for Xbox, or at least it's drastically decreased.
But they're not buying it because they just can get it through Game Pass, and all Microsoft wants is you to be in that ecosystem, as we've been saying forever. So if you've got Microsoft money to throw around, and they do, I guess so. I still think you run into the problem that Packer's been talking about forever. Is how long can they keep this up and justify it internally?
Yeah, I just don't think there's any way you can turn a profit if you're paying this much money out for Game Pass, for each game. That's crazy.
I don't think that's for each. I think the $300 million is pretty rare.
Well, they said it's for big budget AAA games.
You're talking about huge. I don't know what you'd even qualify as that.
Well, the truth be told, there haven't been that many games like that on Game Pass. That's the sad truth.
There have been, but most of them first party.
Right.
Which obviously they're not paying themselves.
Well, all first party should be on.
They're not paying themselves $300 million.
Yeah, this is all about third party. I don't think that's a sustainable business model. And I think this is the first time we've had empirical evidence that Game Pass may not be a sustainable business model. We kind of suspected before, and, just because we've been in the industry a long time, we have not been able, at least on myself, I have not been able to make it make sense in my mind the whole time, Matt. And now I know why. Because this is what I was juggling in my mind, these amounts where I was like, how do you get that money back?
They also, a lot of the games that they were listing on what those prices were, they weren't on Game Pass, so clearly that didn't go through.
Yeah, they decided not to do the deal. Yeah.
So, we've always just assumed that they internally they must know something or have a plan, and we'll see how. Even Phil's admitted that they don't know if it's actually going to play out. It sounds like they might be ready to make a major pivot in 2028 if that doesn't work out the way they're expecting it to. Maybe I don't even know if they expect it to work out that way.
Yeah.
It's still not the worst decision they've made in the last 15 years, so,
I mean, the good news is here's the thing. Like, it's all good for us. Like, Microsoft is losing a ton of money for us, basically. We are allowed to spend $15 a month, a little more now, for Game Pass to get all these awesome games for like dirt cheap, and Microsoft is paying the bill. Yeah, it's like kind of like what Epic is doing with Epic Game Store right now with all its free games.
Pretty much just like an enjoy it while you got it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like it's probably not going to last forever.
Yeah, agreed. Yep, it's too good to. It's like the old adage.
But again, like what I'm saying here when I say that I don't think this is a particularly interesting leak is like we already knew that.
We didn't know that, though. I didn't.
It was pretty safe to say, enjoy it while it lasts. And we don't know how they're possibly making money on this or what the deal might be. We have some concrete numbers about what people were asking for and apparently not getting in some cases.
Yeah.
Because the deal didn't go through. But it's like, as far as like, for me, like, does that, as a player, for general players, does this matter to any of us? Not really. Like it's good for us for now that Microsoft is doing this, however they're doing it, and for how much money they're doing it behind the scenes. But in the end, it's not going to really change anything in our gaming lives.
Well, it may make people sign up because they're like, I want to get in on this before it's gone, because I really don't think it's sustainable, like, at all. But again, enjoy the ride while it lasts. Enjoy that Microsoft money while it lasts. And then some other stuff came out that Microsoft was interested in purchasing Nintendo and Valve, the two potentially biggest acquisition targets on the planet.
These are the emails that is just like, what are you doing?
I know.
Talking about this shit in email. And it's not even, yeah, sure. Phil Spencer saying like, oh yeah, it sure would be a career-making coup to buy Nintendo. Like, yeah.
No shit.
Absolutely.
No shit. Yeah.
It would also be a career-making coup to land an Xbox on the moon. Like, as long as we're fucking making shit up. Like, what does that even mean?
Or to make a good Halo game.
Yeah.
Sing!
Yeah, well, not mentioned anywhere in any of this stuff, I noticed.
Yeah. It's like it doesn't exist inside Microsoft land
even though
anymore.
These were coming out, these are from an era where they were actively working on one.
Right.
Like,
and no one's talking
about Halo. It's like no one is under any delusion that Halo is going to save him. That is one of the interesting things from this. It's just like, oh, you're not talking about Halo or Gears of War or any like
none of that.
Some of that was just because a lot of it's related to Bethesda and hardware stuff, but it's like, it's just interesting that in all of these weird emails, no one ever mentions like the three things that they've leaned on for the last 15 years.
Well, I think in some of the cases, they had just uploaded the right documents. Like, those games aren't really related to those cases at all. Like, they would have made a mistake if they had uploaded stuff with information like that, because those are first-party games. But still, I hear you. Like, you would think in some of those emails there'd be some mention of, like, their big first-party stuff, but there wasn't. And then here's the biggest one to me. This is the one that shocked me the most. And maybe you haven't even seen this yet, Matt. Is that 75% of all Xbox Series consoles sold are Xbox Series S. 75%. Now, so much stuff makes sense. Like, why? We're like, just drop the Series S, Microsoft. Like, what are you doing? You're keeping games from being released on your platform. This is why. Because they're not selling any Xbox Series X consoles. Everyone's buying the Xbox Series S. They can't. They have to make games available for S. Otherwise, there's no one's playing games on Xbox. But it's interesting that if
that balance was so off that the X's were still selling out before they could even make it up onto the websites.
Yeah.
So it makes me makes me wonder is what the production numbers were ratio wise.
That's possible. 75%. That's more than just production, man. That's people making a choice. And what that says to me is that a lot of people are buying Xbox as a second console, either to just play the first party stuff or to just play Game Pass. And so they're like, I'm just going to go with the cheapest option. I'm going to pick the Xbox Series S, and it looks good enough that I can play Halo Infinite, and I can play Redfall, and I can play Starfield, and I can subscribe to Game Pass, and it looks good enough. I mean, if people are buying Switch
you want to waste your money, go ahead.
But if people are still buying Switch, Matt, like, a lot of people just don't care that much about having the highest fidelity. I mean,
right, but the thing with Switch is it's always built to work on Switch because Switch is singular. Like, but if with the S, you're going to run into issues like it just doesn't fucking work right. But
it's never going away. Now that we know this data, the S is never going away. That's why you see a plan for it.
There will always be a weak ass, cheaper version of the Xbox every generation.
Yeah, like we're seeing it. They have plans for it until 2028.
Yeah,
like
there will always be an Xbox Switch.
Yeah, this blew my mind. I thought it was like 75-25 in the favor of Xbox Series X.
I would have thought it was more even, like 50-50.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have thought Series X in a landslide.
Just by how both of them were impossible to get for such a period of time in that shortage area. I would have thought they're both selling about even. 75S is remarkable.
I'll say this, Matt. As soon as I heard this news, I started thinking back to a lot of the people on Sifted in the conversations and various threads and everything. How many of them said that they got a Series S, and I just blew it off and didn't even think twice about it. Now, I'm like, it all makes sense. They're doing what everybody else was doing. They're buying the cheaper console.
It just doesn't quite track to me in the sense of, like, it would track better for me if the S was cheaper than it is.
Yeah.
It's so close to the X's price that it
$200
just feels like $200, but like
that's a lot of money for a lot of people.
It can be, but it's like what you get in exchange is significant.
Yeah, it sucks.
Like, that's
but again, I think some people are just okay with good enough.
Somewhat. I mean, but also, like, again, like we were talking about EA pulling the plug on things. Like, back at launch, I would, if I was deciding between the two, I wouldn't want an S because I wouldn't trust them to keep it going.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that's not the case here.
After the Baldur's Gate 3 thing, you have reason to be a little nervous about it, for sure. But if looking at those numbers...
And I mean, look, if the only compromise on Baldur's Gate 3 is that there's no split-screen co-op, like,
right.
who fucking cares? You know, like, that's a minor thing. But, like, you know, I just don't know. Like, it's such a... It's such a, like, I would say that, like, at this, maybe you don't even make the S cheaper in the future, but it maybe does indicate that you could make the X more expensive.
Maybe.
Like, make the X...
Because the market's kind of small.
Like, in the next, for the next gen, my theory, if I were at Microsoft, would be like, okay, let's keep the S equivalent about where it is in terms of price and power differential. Let's make the more expensive one more expensive,
$600-700
and more powerful,
and it runs.
Like,
ray tracing actually works.
Yeah, let's make this thing a fucking beast.
Right.
Like, maybe that frees you up to really mess with that.
Yeah, that's encouraging to think about, for sure. But I was shocked to get this data. I was like, are you effing kidding me?
It is definitely more than I would have thought.
Yeah. And I don't think it's going away.
No.
I think it's here to stay.
I would also love to see, like, actual game data on S usage.
Yeah.
Because I do know that a lot of S's were sold as emulator machines.
That's true, too.
Like, the lot of them.
Well, you could see it whenever Microsoft locked it out.
Yeah, they actually went through the trouble online to do that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, that's interesting information that's showing you that a lot of the Xbox, I believe a lot of Xbox customers are using it as their second console, and they just are okay with buying the cheaper version. It's a little weaker. And then as Matt hinted at a little bit earlier, there were some games, potential games that are coming out that were leaked. A Fallout 3 remaster. I found that kind of interesting. Why would they do Fallout 3 instead of Fallout 4? Obviously,
Fallout 4 doesn't need to be remastered.
You don't think so?
It's too recent.
It looks pretty rough at this point, I think.
It looked rough when it came out, but Fallout 3 is, how old is that? It's 2006, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that game's ancient. It absolutely needs to be. I mean, I replayed that during 2020 on vanilla on Xbox One, or was it Xbox One? Yeah, Xbox One X, and it was fun. Yeah, I still enjoyed it. But yeah, Fallout 3 could definitely use the facelift for sure. Also, Fallout 3 is a much better game than 4. It is,
yeah.
So,
well, Fallout 4 got a little bloated. Now, by the way, you're seeing Fallout 4 right now. I didn't have a Fallout 3 trailer on the TriCaster.
Oh, who has Fallout 3 footage? I mean, you have to really special order that one.
Well, it also would be at like 480p.
Yeah.
And then another game that was leaked, as Matt alluded to earlier, Dishonored 3.
They're just going to keep fucking that chicken, apparently.
I mean...
How many times does that thing need to tank? I mean, look, I not that I think Dishonored shouldn't exist or anything,
right.
But it's like, how many times do you need to have that thing tank before you prove to yourself that there's not really a wide market for this thing?
I think the problem is that, well, Arcane kind of proved it with Redfall, is that it's very good at a very specific type of game.
Yeah, it definitely specializes. And again, this is old data, so it's like... You know, who knows if this even
They may have canceled
anymore.
it.
Maybe, you don't
particularly
know.
With games. Like, games could easily be canceled in the last 3 years. Like, no doubt about it. I also would be surprised if Dishonored 3 ever comes out, but neither of the first two games sold really well, despite really high review scores.
Yeah, I mean that's not like they're bad. Again, I mean I don't like them very much, but it's not like they're bad games.
No.
They're for what they are probably the best.
They're the best in
They're best
class.
in the business in that.
Yeah,
yeah. It's sort of like Starfield. It's like no one else is making these.
Yeah,
no one's even trying trying.
Yeah.
So
maybe for a reason.
Yeah, true. Well, in the case of Starfield or Bethesda stuff, I think it's just because it's so hard to do. In the case of these, I just don't think there's much of a market.
Yeah.
Although you never know. Like, all it takes is one game to break that bank.
I mean, look at Elden Ring.
Yeah, all it takes is, or even Demon Souls.
Yeah.
All it takes is one game to give something critical. Who knows what Stalker 2 might do? You know? Like, maybe Stalker 2's positioned just right to make that happen, and then Dishonored 3 makes a lot more sense.
Possible.
I mean, I don't think they're thinking that, wheels within wheels about this. I just think it's probably just, obvious. It's obvious to let Arcane make another Dishonored because that's what they do.
Yeah.
I would, frankly, rather have another Prey.
But, I think we all would, honestly. And we may get that instead of Dishonored 3.
I think Dishonored is more beloved overall than Prey was.
You think it has more fans?
I think for sure. I'm not a Dishonored fan, but Dishonored is definitely mentioned positively more often than Prey to me.
The Abrams asking, what should Arcane do then? I mean, that's a good question.
That's the real question, isn't it?
How much did they pay for him? Is that the $100 million question?
I mean, Arcane clearly makes what we insist apparently on calling immersive sims.
Yeah. They're really just action RPGs.
Yeah, which is about as useful as that immersive games and apps thing.
Right.
That fucking that's just that's the worst subgenre name in all of games.
Yeah.
Almost as dumb as people trying to call Metroidvanias search action. Die. But like, yeah, you've got Arcane, that especially that branch of Arcane just specializes in that kind of game, and it's like, what else do you want them to do?
I mean, they're still working on Redfall. There is a chance that they could get that into shape, and then maybe that gives them a new avenue. I don't know. Yeah, I know. I'm grasping at straws.
I think so are they.
Yeah. Also, a new Doom was leaked called Doom Year Zero. What do you think that might be?
That's a prequel.
You think it's just a prequel?
I don't know what that would be.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
as far as I know, Doom's.
Doom.
Unless, like, I guess because the new Dooms are basically, they are kind of sequels to the original games.
Yeah.
Because the
Doom guy.
Doom guy's waking up in his magic coffin to like stop another invasion from hell.
Yeah.
So theoretically, that Year Zero could be a remake of the original Doom.
That could be. And that would be kind of cool.
Where the portal first opens and some poor bastard has to fight them all down.
That might be cool. Obviously, I think we all knew another Doom game was coming. Doom Eternal sold very well. And
now the question is it going to play like Eternal or is it going to play like 2016?
Yeah.
Like, because Eternal is a very different game.
Yeah. Yeah, I found it to be more difficult than I liked 2016 better, actually.
I do like 2016 more. Because Eternal, I understand why people like Eternal, because it's sort of like a skill challenge, almost like the club, sort of like you're trying to like show off almost. Mm-hmm. It's a little more like combo driven. It's just not how I want to play Doom.
You watch good people play Doom Eternal, it's like they're playing a different game.
Oh yeah, it's like
literally it's like they're playing another game. It's really insane.
Yeah, to a certain point you're like, you're not playing Doom anymore. I don't know what that is, but it's certainly not Doom.
Yep.
It feels like some kind of like it's like watching somebody play like one of those like indie combo driven like you're like Devil May Cry or something. Mm-hmm. It's a whole thing like that. And I just prefer the more straightforward,
me too,
almost boomer shooter style of 2016.
Circle strafe shooters. Yep. And then the final leak was something I was surprised by. They're going to make a sequel to Ghostwire Tokyo.
I mean, that was on again, these are from years ago.
Yeah, so this is another one that I think might have been canceled.
This is from before Ghostwire Tokyo came out.
Yeah.
And so I think this may have been adjusted in the meantime.
This was just on Game Pass, I think, recently.
Yes. Yeah. Because, when it hit
it's a good Game Pass game.
Or when it got to, it hit PlayStation, finally. Because it was on PlayStation later, right?
Yeah. No, I think it was on PlayStation
first.
Yeah.
And then it hit this, and then when it hit this, it went Game Pass.
Yeah. And I think it may still be on there, actually. But I would be shocked if they actually published a sequel to this game.
At some point, I don't remember if it was Steam or whatever. Maybe it was PlayStation Network. I can't remember what but it was like $5.99 at one point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe. And I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. I didn't care for that game.
Yeah. Most people didn't. And I would be shocked if they actually go through with the full sequel.
No, a lot of the Bethesda lineup feels like old data, especially given if you look at like when all these things were supposed to come out. Like according to that schedule, we were supposed to have Starfield DLC about 6 months ago.
That's true.
Which is not.
Yep. Hasn't panned out.
Elder Scrolls 6 was supposed to be out, I think, next spring.
Yeah.
It looked like.
That's definitely not.
Clearly, all this got. I mean, again, I think a lot of this was not. Yeah, it was pre-pandemic to some degree, or early pandemic.
Everyone had to adjust. And then the final thing that came out of these leaks is that Microsoft expected a remaster of Red Dead Redemption 2 that never happened.
Yeah.
Which seems wishful thinking to me, but because that game is still gorgeous.
Yeah, I don't think it really needed it.
No. Yeah. But anyway, those are the Xbox leaks. It's just crazy. Like, you think about how secretive and how ridiculously secretive the games industry has been, and in most regards continues to be. You just don't see stuff like this. Like, the NVIDIA leak is the other one that I would probably put on equal footing with this one, where you're just getting like this cavalcade of information of stuff you never thought you would ever see.
I think the NVIDIA leak was more pertinent just because it was more current.
It was game related too.
Yeah, it was game related, but also it was much more recent than what this is.
And all that, by the way, stuff continues to come true from those NVIDIA leaks.
Yeah, the NVIDIA leaks have been very accurate.
Oh yeah, like on the money, almost all of them. And it'll be interesting to see. So Phil Spencer did release a statement yesterday where he said, "This is all old information. Just wait until you see what we're really doing." Which, my guess is, as usual, the truth falls somewhere in the middle. Some of this stuff is still happening, some of it's not, and
the X cylinder is almost certainly going to happen.
yes, I believe the X cylinder is going to happen. The trash can is what it actually looks like. A black trash can.
Yeah, it does kind of look like a little office, like a little under the desk trash can.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like a motion control one. If you get near it, the lid pops up and you drop your trash in it. So anyway, you can
almost hear how much Phil was straining not say wait till E3.
Yeah.
It's like, no, wait for what?
When's that going to happen again? When's that?
And our new June showcase, X3.
Yeah. Vincent says we'll see Sabile, however you say it, the controller. Yeah, definitely. That controller's coming. Like,
all the hardware refreshes feel like they're probably done deals.
Legit. The timing may be off now, but I'm guessing most of them are in them coming out. So anyway, there you go. Those are the big Xbox leaks that have happened. It's been the biggest news story from this week. And my guess is more is going to come out, because just today we got the stuff about the Xbox Series S being 75%. The truth is, these documents, the upload is so gigantic that journalists are still sorting through them, trying to find the information.
Vincent also makes the good point that the Bethesda thing has no mention of the Quake 2 remaster on it. Like, there are clearly projects that have started and been completed in the meantime since that document was made.
Yep. Yeah.
So
as always, take leaks with a grain of salt. I think the truth on these leaks will probably end up somewhere in the middle. That's usually how it ends up. Next up, we're going to talk about the biggest game release of the week. Undoubtedly, I think so anyway. Do you?
I don't know what else it would be. And Lies of P, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we'll get to Lies of P. But first, we're going to talk about Mortal Kombat 1. It is supposed to be a reboot of Mortal Kombat.
Well,
and now that I've played through the whole campaign, I have issues with that.
Well, because it's not a reboot.
It's really not.
It's another timeline reset, just like 9 was.
The game...
All the Mortal Kombat games are still in continuity with the original Mortal Kombat games. It's just after Armageddon, Raiden went back in time and warned himself not to make the wrong decisions, and it turned out the new decisions he made were all different wrong decisions.
Right.
And so at the end of Aftermath, basically Liu Kang says, "Fuck you, stupid Thunder God. I'm going to do it right this time." And basically, he wins a fight with, you can pick in the game, but between him and Shang Tsung. But he beats Shang Tsung and gets to remake the universe from the beginning of time as he sees fit. And so now we have this new version.
And that's what you're seeing right now. You narrated that whole cinematic perfectly, Matt.
And so now you have this thing where Raiden is some newbie martial arts trainee farmer guy, and Liu Kang is the elder god who protects Earthrealm, except he's the fire god, not the thunder god.
Right.
And conveniently hands over a lightning magic amulet to Raiden so he can do all of his special moves once you hit the tournament part of the game.
Right.
But
otherwise, his story is kind of the same. So it starts out...
Yeah, you're going through it here a little bit, and the main thing that Liu Kang did is, you see Shang Tsung here as the old peddler guy. Liu Kang basically took the bad guys from the series and made them really unimportant losers.
Yeah.
That was sort of but of course, because it's Mortal Kombat, eventually it turns out that someone has been going around and reminding them of who they were and making them bad guys again.
Yeah. So Shang Tsung is like this snake oil salesman. He travels around selling fake magic and stuff. This person shows up. She's like, "There's something about you. I'm going to elevate you to a god," basically.
Yeah, and this is that's actually a really good shot, the creepy shot of him just smiling.
The all the cinemas in the campaign of this are amazing.
They continue to improve their cinematic game as they. I mean, this is the same format they've used since the reboot, since 9.
Yeah.
So this is the 4th game, 6th if you include the Injustice games, that do this sort of campaign of like you go through a very high quality cinematic story and then play a fighting game match, usually 3 times per character, and then move on to the next chapter.
Yeah.
And it works.
What you're seeing right now, by the way, is Kung Lao and Raiden. They are the guys who are working in the field, and they finish their work. They go to this restaurant with this local woman that they admire. She's kind of like their mom, but not their mom.
She's their martial arts teacher.
But it turns out she's been recruiting them for...
She's working for Liu Kang.
She's working for Liu Kang, trying to find fighters to recruit for this tournament that happens between all the realms. But in this game, all the realms are friends at first.
Yeah, well, that was like what Liu Kang's main change was like Shao Kahn never takes... Shang Tsung is not an evil sorcerer, so he doesn't give Outworld the edge, and Shao Kahn doesn't take over after the first Mortal Kombat tournament. So basically, Sindel is still queen, even after the death of her husband, and Melina and Kitana are still the daughters. So Outworld is still run... It's still in order. It's still orderly.
Yeah. It's just not evil yet.
Except there's some other shit happening that they don't tell the humans about, because like there's the whole Baraka thing is happening in the background. Like it's a very interesting and pretty cool remix of like what you already know, of the way you already know Mortal Kombat to go, and it's like, well, what if it would happen this way? But then there's that element of like, fate wants to drag the timeline into what it was supposed to be originally anyway, which is a problem that Raiden ran into in the reboot, the last 3 games as well. Yeah,
the first half of the campaign is basically Liu Kang just going to different places, gathering champions to take.
And then you do what would be considered the first game's tournament pretty early on, much like you did in Mortal Kombat 9, where you're like, oh, like Mortal Kombat 9 is basically a retelling of Mortal Kombat 1 and 2.
It is, yeah.
And this is early on feels like that, but it gets very, very different because of the time shenanigans.
Yeah. Ultimately, it ends up becoming, I feel like, it's kind of a gross ripoff of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, sort of. I mean, what they're angling for with this, sure.
They're definitely dipping their toe in the multiverse thing, just like everybody is now.
Like, one of the big goals in the campaign is to unify the timelines, and there's 2 sides, and there's a big war at the end between the 2 sides. It's very MCU.
Yeah. Well, also that is also very similar to the end of Armageddon.
True.
Where literally every character in the history of the franchise has a big fight over a giant pyramid, and everybody dies.
And that. I don't want to spoil too much, but anyway.
And then that's when Raiden decides in the beginning of the reboot is like, oh, this didn't work out too well. I'm going to send a message to myself in the past and say, like, hey, don't do it like this.
But then he does do it.
But he doesn't do it that way. But it turns out if he does the other way, it's even worse.
It is worse.
And then in the last game, Chronica, the goddess of time shows up and is like, can you stop fucking with the timeline, please?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to kill all of you. And so it just became a whole thing.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of fun stuff in this. Like,
I mean, the way it's designed is great, is smart, because like the beginning, the first half is he travels to meet these characters, and you play as these characters for like a whole chapter or whatever. You get to learn how to play as them, how they play against a lot of the other fighters in the game.
That, like, early on, some of them don't have some of their signature moves because they haven't learned that. Like Kung Lao cannot throw his hat.
Right
here,
he
because
doesn't have
the bladed hat.
But eventually, he gets it.
And there's a great gag about that.
There is. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff like that. Melina. Like, I never knew how Melina became who she is. Like,
well, that's not how she became how she is in some of the other timelines.
But it's very interesting how they do it in this game. Because it ties into, you never would have guessed it, Baraka.
Right.
Like, it's like, there's tons of stuff like that. Little Easter eggs, you're like, oh, that's how they decided.
No, there's a lot of interesting. They play with expectations a lot. Like, it's a good story if you don't know anything about Mortal Kombat, I think. But also, if you do know Mortal Kombat,
it's even better.
It's constantly like going in, you're like, why is Reptile hot in this one? You know, like, it's like shocking. All of a sudden, Reptile's like a sympathetic character, like, who's like this super hot dude who happens to be able to turn into a reptile.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I can go with that. Like, they change a bunch. Baraka is like a sympathetic character in this.
Yeah, actually, but here's one thing I will say, is that one of the mistakes I think they made in this campaign was giving big roles to characters like Baraka and Melina, because they have these mouths that are just ridiculous. And then you have to sit there for the next 5 or 6 hours watching them try to animate their mouths. Like, if you look at Baraka, like, they just gave up. They're like, you can't animate this mouth. It's ridiculous. They just created a hinge and basically gave him a flappy jaw. Like, because there's no way.
Well, no, he has no lips. He can't.
Right.
He can't speak English. Well, that's always been sort of.
But
the
you
case.
could have chosen the characters more intelligently, so you wouldn't have these weird situations. But whatever, it's still awesome. Like
No, it's all nonsense. It's fine. It's Mortal Kombat.
But this campaign is incredible. Like, it is hands down the best in the fighting game genre. It's like no one's even in the same league as this game.
They've always been ahead of. They've been ahead of the game on the campaign story modes since 9.
Yeah,
they just keep getting better and better.
It really is a marvel. Like, they've done an amazing. The writing, the way it's shot, composited, lit, everything about it is.
And they
just
definitely
top-notch.
They play with the format a lot more in this one. than in the past.
It's really, really good. Now, here's the rub: it's not very long.
No, it's. I saw a compilation of all the cutscenes, which is it's 4 hours and 4 minutes
Of cutscenes.
and I would imagine it's probably 2 or less hours of actual fighting gameplay,
Yeah.
unless you just really run into some problems. But like, because the challenge of this mode for the most part is the fact that it just throws you from character to character with no explanation of how they work.
That's true.
So,
but it's also easy enough that it doesn't really matter.
Usually you can get through it with some basic knowledge. Yeah.
I have it set to medium, and I'll just tell you, like, I wish I had played it on a harder difficulty.
That's funny. That's funny. My game did that little glitch there too.
That
where the
panel popping out?
where the throne is in the foreground and it pops in the back. Mine did that too.
That's the only glitch I found in the whole game, by the way. But I think the campaign in this is amazing, but it's just really short. And
it is, but I do like if you have the other games, I would encourage you to like play all 4 in a row at some point just to see how that whole story hangs together, because it is all one coherent thing.
Yeah.
If you can stomach the graphics of the first one,
right?
There's a game that needs a remaster.
Yeah,
they could get away with that if they want a breather between this one and whatever their next game is, because I guess they're not doing Injustices anymore.
I don't know if that's.
They might have been out of material on that one.
It's possible. What I would say though is that like this campaign is like 6 hours, and so if you're planning on buying it mostly to play the campaign, this game is $70, and that's a pretty tough ask.
I mean, all of them have been that long, more or less. Like the downside on this one is the last one had that really like elaborate crypt mode, and that there isn't.
Well, they've replaced it kind of with another.
A little bit with
here.
like the season related like sort of
invasions mode. That's what we're seeing right now, by the way. In invasions mode, it's a little bit like.
By the way, I think Rain is the coolest reinvention of any of the characters in this.
I hate playing as him though.
He's hard to play, but he like that. His look, I think, like as a reinvention of one of the previous just color palette swap ninjas. That's a really cool design.
Yeah, well, he's different. He's like a sorcerer.
Yeah,
like a water sorcerer. So he's not really like the ninjas anymore.
And the worst being, Nitara. Is it Nitara?
Nitara, yeah.
Voiced by Megan Fox, might be the worst voice performance I've ever heard in a major game production.
I would agree with you 1,000%. It literally, she completely mailed in her voice.
Like, it's embarrassing.
And it also doesn't sound great. It sounds like she may have just recorded it at home.
No, it's tinny and weird.
Yeah.
And then it turned out that some other voice actor recorded all the effort stuff.
Sub-Zero also terrible, by the way. I
don't think I've heard enough of it.
Awful. It's just this. It just sounds like a voice actor throwing his voice instead of using his natural voice.
I do think I don't think Sub-Zero and Scorpion are used very well in this, considering how popular they are.
At the end, that changes.
Okay. I'm not at the end. I haven't finished it yet. I'm like 2/3 of the way through it.
I have finished the campaign. I did it in like half a day. Like it's not a big time commitment to get through it.
These two fighting in this background is very funny.
Yeah.
Like
with the mansion like overlooking Hollywood or whatever. So this mode is called Invasions, and it's what was that mode in Smash Brothers? It was called Time Continuum or some crap.
Yeah,
it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
You start with like a game board, and you move around the game board, and then you get to nodes, and then you fight at the nodes. This has that, but it also has special challenges where like they'll take away like half of your health. There's like special conditions in some of the matches.
This is basically the Crypt, except like I don't think it's as compelling as the Crypt was.
This is boring AF. I played this for, I don't know, 8 hours.
I don't think it's boring, but I just don't think it's nearly as good as the Crypt. Because the Crypt had, like, puzzles and weird shit. The Crypt was kind of creepy and it had a lot more inventiveness to it, and this just feels like going from fight to fight to fight to fight.
This is also really easy. Again, I would bump up the difficulty because most of the fights in this are just one round. They don't even play out like the full best of 3. But again, there are conditions in a lot of matches, like where you have like buffs or anti-buffs. And there's like these 2 systems are called Talisman and Relics. Mm-hmm. One of them offers buffs to your character, and the other one is actually like special attacks. Like you can, like new fireballs that you can throw in the middle of fights, and you can level those up. There's like a whole leveling system. You can let the game do it yourself, or you can actually go and individually level up each fighter's like 5 or 6 different statistics. Like, it's really in-depth, but I found it extremely boring. There's also Test Your Might throughout both the campaign...
Although you can turn that off.
...and Invasions mode. You can turn off Test Your Might.
You can turn off the Test Your Might things.
Interesting. I wonder how that would work, because in the campaign, there's moments where, like, you use it to either fail or make it through moments of the campaign.
I think it just auto-succeeds you.
Okay, and it just shows you just
It's in the accessibility options.
Gotcha. Interesting. But those are peppered through.
For people who can't button mash.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Also, to answer the chat, yes, Megan Fox is worse in this than Ronda Rousey was in the previous one.
But that is a good analogy.
Yeah, I mean it's in the same league.
She's worse than she's worse than Ronda Rousey.
Yes.
That's how bad she is.
No question.
She stands out like a sore thumb.
And it was even weirder to learn, I think it was today or yesterday, I can't remember which, but like apparently Ed Boon wanted all the fighters to be played by celebrities at one point.
Oh.
Which just don't do that. That's you don't need that.
But I should say, generally, the voice acting's amazing.
Oh, other than that,
other than those 2, Sub-Zero and Megan Fox, everyone else is great.
But everybody else in this is played by professional VAs,
right?
So of course they are.
I mean, it's crazy to me that Megan Fox can't read copy better than that.
I mean, I think it's some of that, and I think it's whoever. It sounds like someone was afraid to direct her.
Maybe that does happen. It's intimidating sometimes to work with celebs. So anyway, that's the Invasions mode, and then the final mode is Towers, which is what you're seeing a little bit of now, and that's
basically the old arcade mode.
Yeah, you just fight a tower of opponents. There's a bunch of different difficulty settings.
You get an ending for the character. That's sort of the thing for that.
Yep.
It's like you get to find out a little bit more about everybody.
One thing I did find that was cool,
because not everybody gets their time in the spotlight in the campaign.
Yeah, it's true. Although most do.
Most of them, like 2/3.
You do end up playing.
That's always been true in these
everybody
games,
in the campaign.
Yeah, but in like always these campaigns, you get maybe 2/3 of the cast gets their own chapter, and then you kind of are left like, well, I don't know anything about Lee May. You know,
right.
it's like I guess I'll play the arcade mode. You know?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I did find that was cool about the campaign is that when you do die, and it doesn't happen very often, but when you do die, like a little text thing pops up that explains what happens for the rest of eternity because of you losing that fight. Like, Shang Tsung took over the mall and like opened up a bunch of like hot dog stands or whatever. Like, they have these crazy explanations for what plays out just because you lost that one match or whatever. So
I haven't actually seen that.
Yeah, they're pretty well because you never die in this.
I haven't lost. Yeah, it's not that.
I think I died like 3 times the whole way through the campaign or whatever.
Also, the only other nitpick I have is early on in the campaign when they all first get to Outworld, and they're kind of being dragged. You know, they're being like taken through the streets to get to the palace, and the Earth fighters are like looking at like all the they're looking at like the Goro type. You know, whatever the
crazy
the Shokans. Yeah, are like, it's like, oh, look at that, that's amazing. And Melina or Katana, I can't remember which one, says something about like the ones with 6 arms are da 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 da. And I'm like, they don't have 6. I have 4 arms. They have 6 limbs.
Yeah.
That's 2 different things. I was like, I don't know who wrote that line, but they were not thinking straight.
Yeah. But I guess what I would say overall about this game is really good. It's a really good fighting game. But it is a little low on modes, at least interesting modes that I got engaged with. Like, again, I played the Invasion mode for like 8 hours. I don't want to play it anymore.
Like, you should definitely make sure you want to play this as a fighter.
Yes.
If you're paying full price for it.
If you're not interested in playing this against somebody in your house, your brother, your roommate, your wife, your whatever, or if you're not interested in playing online, it's hard for me to recommend this as a purchase. Like, I'm really not interested in doing those things. I don't.
It might be better to wait for like kind of the inevitable complete collection,
right? When all the DLC is there and everything.
Maybe the inevitable epilogue they throw in or something. Yeah, the aftermath style thing.
Right now, it's hard for me to recommend for most people to buy this at $70, even though it is great.
Well, except these things sell 14 million copies, so clearly most people are
okay with it.
Buying. Yeah, they just play it with their buddies and play the campaign, and this is the top selling fighting game.
It is
by like a double I mean, the last one sold double what Street Fighter V did.
Yeah, we should talk about the gameplay too, because they did kind of simplify it. There's just one meter now called the super meter in the game. There was two in the last several Mortal Kombat games.
I guess you could technically consider your tag team partner a meter.
Yeah,
they have to recharge a little bit.
Cameo character.
It's not really the same thing.
Yeah, it's not. So there is one meter. It's used to enhance your special moves. It's used to break combos. It can also jump cancel out of uppercuts, which is a big deal in Mortal Kombat. And basically all you have to do is you just hold the right trigger while pulling off any of the special moves, and it will amplify that special move. And then the meter itself builds by taking damage. If you have your attacks blocked, if you perform specials, the meter goes up. And then it basically just buffs your special attacks. You don't really, again, the game is so easy, I hardly even had to use the meter against the CPU. Like, using it against the CPU, it almost makes it like a joke. Like, it just makes it even more easy already. And then there's another system called armor attacks, which give fighters temporary invincibility. And what you have to do is you have to watch for the color of the character, and once they turn blue, then you can land your blows. But again, you just wait, and then you just deliver the blow once they turn blue. I didn't find that to be a very useful system. It seemed like the CPU had more problems dealing with it than the human players do anyway. And then there are fatal blows. You trigger those with R2 and L2 at once. And there's like a meter that builds underneath, and it'll start flashing fatal blow. I'm still not 100% sure how that's governed.
That's if your life gets low enough.
Oh, is that the only way it ever comes online? Okay.
Fatal blows or comeback mechanic.
Okay, gotcha.
So I think it's below 20% or 25% life.
And they're like the big elaborate attacks that aren't the fatalities.
Yeah, those are the X-rays.
Yeah, and you team up with your cameo partner.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed by those in this, because they are so by rote. Because every character does one thing
and
as a partner, and then your character does something that follows that up, but it's like the same thing every time.
Over and over. And there's no way to skip them.
No, they're long. They're a little too long.
Yeah, I found them to be kind of annoying.
But you can't ignore them because they do so much damage.
Yeah, they'll take half a health meter generally. And so that's a little bit of a yo-yo you have to manage in fights. And then the cameo stuff, I think it's cool. Like, you can only use them like once or twice per round. They're on a cooldown.
Yeah, you can use them for especially throws.
I use them to break combos.
I mean, combo breakers is the main reason to have them.
If the opponent starts like leveling me with a crazy long combo, I call in the cameo fighter, and they will break the combo like that. And that's what I generally use them for.
In competition, I think they're mostly going to be used as combo breakers and maybe a little bit of mix up. Like you can Marvel versus Capcom a little bit and just be like, okay, you think I'm going to do this, I'm going to throw this thing, and while you're dealing with that, it's kind of zoning you out to the point that I can start either my projectiles or get over you. As always with post 3D Mortal Kombat, cross-ups are not a huge. There's the hat thing. That was very funny.
Yeah, it was fun. There's a lot of funny moments in this. There's a couple moments I got misty-eyed. Couple emotional moments in the campaign. I was shocked. I'm like, whoa, like, this is Mortal Kombat I'm playing here. How's this affecting me like this? I was kind of surprised by some of that stuff. But overall, I think the fighting system is perfect for Mortal Kombat. As you said, it is the casuals fighting game. It is the best-selling fighting game. And I think simplifying it so you have just one meter to manage is a smart move. The call and response rhythm of Mortal Kombat hasn't changed. It's like riding a bike. You get on it, like the muscle memory is still there. The button layout is still the same. Like, I can start playing Mortal Kombat and immediately I'm competitive. It doesn't take me a few matches or anything. The muscle memory is just there from decades of playing Mortal Kombat. It is like comfort food fighting game, and I really enjoy playing it, but I've now spent 2 hardcore days with it, and I feel like I'm kind of done. Now, remember, I've been playing Mortal Kombat since the first one in the arcades. If you're a much younger player, you have not been sort of deluded on Mortal Kombat like I have. And for people like that, give it a bump up. Like, you're going to enjoy it. Probably it's going to have much more staying power than it would for a person like me. If you're a person who likes to play online, or you have a brother or someone you like to play head-to-head with in your house, again, bump it up. But for me personally, I played it for a couple days hardcore. I was pretty much good with it after that. And now I'm like, okay, if I'd spent $70-some on this, would I be okay with it? I'd probably be regretting it a little bit. But again, I'm a special case.
You're not going to play it as a fighter, really.
You're probably right. Yeah.
Also, this was it went for the early access. It went live at the right time, but it was September 15th was 30 years since Mortal Monday.
Unreal. That's crazy.
Only the second advertised release date for a video game.
Yeah, but that is how long I've been playing Mortal Kombat. And I'll say this, I still enjoyed the hell out of this while it lasted. Like, if the campaign went another 5 or 10 hours, I would have kept playing. It was that good. I really enjoyed it. And it was great to reconnect with the characters on a different level. I will say this, the initial lineup of characters for this game, and I know a lot more are going to come via DLC or whatever, it does feel like in a lot of cases they chose some of the most boring characters to be like in the campaign and like the initial roster. Like a lot of the more offbeat, like weird characters like Stryker and Cyrax and people like that, like they're all like cameo fighters. Like most of the fighters that are in the real roster are just like typical humanoid type characters. Like I feel like a lot of the more fun, interesting Mortal Kombat characters were not included in the initial roster for this, but that's just nitpicking. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with it, and I think if you haven't played Mortal Kombat for 30 years like I have, you will probably have a lot more staying power with this game than I had. And that's something I have to keep in mind as I evaluate games, that I have played a lot of these franchises for decades and a lot of people haven't. So it's something that I have to always consider when I'm playing games and trying to explain to you guys whether you should buy them or not. But online modes, I would say they're a little simple. Like, I feel like Street Fighter 6 mops the floor with this game online-wise.
Yeah, online presentation, Street Fighter 6 is hard to compete with.
Yeah, it's way better than this. This feels like...
But I also don't really feel like I need to run around a lobby with a custom Mortal Kombat character and do all that stuff. For like, straightforward is sometimes fine.
Yeah.
Put your effort towards the campaign stuff. Put your effort towards the presentation more.
Matchmaking's good. It's a little slow, but there's tons of people playing. Like, you don't have any shortage of people to play against if you don't have people locally to play with.
Also, surprisingly, I don't remember them saying it, but this thing supports crossplay.
I think it's coming later.
I mean cross-save.
Oh, it does?
If you play on PC, it will load up your PlayStation save.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Like, if you have a Warner Brothers account linked to both versions. Yeah. Like, it does actually save your progress between platforms.
Okay.
Which I haven't seen them brag about or like use as a talking point.
Yeah. I don't think crossplay is online yet. I think it's coming like in a couple weeks.
Crossplay isn't. Cross save does seem to work.
Yeah.
It already works. Almost unadvertised from what I could see.
Yeah. So anyway, that's Mortal Kombat 1. Again, it is a $70 game. The Switch version, by the way, is just getting murdered online.
Oh my god.
They made a Switch version, which is kind of impressive, but...
There's your real test as to whether graphics don't matter.
Right. They do in fighting games. And it is getting murdered.
They do for the price they're charging for that thing.
It's almost become like clickbait at this point. Like, reviewing the Switch version. Like, everybody knows, haha, you can watch a review and laugh at how bad the game looks. It looks that bad on Switch.
Yeah.
So you should just steer clear if you're a Switch owner, I would recommend. But I think we've kind of let you know already, if you own other platforms, whether you should pick it up or not. Great game. For me, limited staying power is someone who's played the franchise for decades at this point. But I had a blast playing through the campaign, reconnecting with all these characters and learning new ways of how they became who they are. That was probably the most clever part of the campaign, Matt, what you pointed out, about how when you start with some characters, they're just people. And then as you go through the campaign, they end up getting their powers, or they end up getting their equipment or their gear or their outfits or whatever. All that stuff matters if you're a big fan of Mortal Kombat, and it really scores in that way.
Maybe they should give Lara Croft to these guys. They'd get her to be the Tomb Raider in about an hour.
Well, Matt, that's the other thing I'm wondering about this is, like, when is NetherRealm going to make a non-fighting game?
Never.
But I'm saying, like, they have the chops to do it.
I mean, they have the chops to do a good campaign story. Yeah. But, like, they're a fighting game developer.
They are, yeah. But if you're Warner Brothers, you got to look at this campaign and you're like, that's pretty freaking amazing.
From what I understand, they are helped by the DC animation department,
I'm sure,
as well, especially through their relationship built with Injustice.
Yeah.
And you can see that quality there. So I think Warner Brothers, I don't think even knows this happens.
Yeah.
Remember, Warner Brothers are the people that don't want to use comic book script writers to help them in the movies because they're comic book guys.
Right.
They don't think there's anything to be learned from that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they feel the same way about the video games.
Yeah.
But Warner Brothers being short-sighted about stuff like that is almost a business trademark for that company, let alone a shortcoming of that company.
Yeah. It's like when we found out that Playground Games was making Fable. Like, if you had told me that after playing this game that NetherRealm was making Fable, like, I would be less worried than Playground Games.
Yeah, you may not remember some of the action RPG stuff they tried in the PlayStation 2 era then.
I do remember. Mythology Sub-Zero was like a single player.
No. I'm talking about the main game. I'm talking about Deadly Alliance.
I remember all that stuff.
Yeah, but all that stuff sucked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in all honesty, invasion mode sucks in this. So.
Yeah, but they're not trying to make it into a Fable thing. Like they've never made an open world. They've never made a thing where you have to run around and do anything of note. You know, it's all been very folded in maze-like things. They should probably stick to the lakes and the rivers that they're used to. And what I wouldn't mind, like you say, I wouldn't mind double the length of the campaign. I wouldn't mind if they decided to do some sort of one-off game which was all 4 campaigns of this sort of saga mushed together, remastered a bit with the early ones, and just mush it together into one big campaign.
Just
sell
all
that
one
campaign all by
game.
itself.
Yeah.
Like just, you know.
Not a bad idea. Yep.
Like unify the whole thing. Would be interesting.
Yep. I hear you. So there you go. That's Mortal Kombat 1. It's out there now. It came out yesterday or today?
Officially came out on the 18th, but it hit early access.
If you pre-ordered, you could have played.
You got to start playing on the 14th.
Yep. So anyway, is that a thumbs up for you?
Oh yeah.
That's a thumbs up for me.
I've liked all the NetherRealm stuff since the reboot. Frankly, I think everything NetherRealm has done has been good because they weren't NetherRealm before then. They sort of reorganized after Midway collapsed. Yep. And everything they've done as that new kind of company has been great.
High quality stuff. Yep. Good work by NetherRealm. Let's move on.
Well, I think the Mortal Kombat movie should just be taking the story from these reboots, like the 9 through 12, and just adapt that into films.
Yeah. By the way,
again, you're running into the Warner Brothers. We don't have anything to learn from these lesser media people thing.
Yeah, I mean, the last Mortal Kombat movie actually wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't.
But this game is better than that movie.
Oh yeah, like
significantly.
Because it takes so much stuff that's like known Mortal Kombat stuff and just turns it on its head or mixes around with it, and it does
cleverly.
And it did that back in the starting with 9 too.
Yeah.
You know, like it wiped the slate clean, but remembered everything it needed to be, and did it. All 4 games really hang together well. I replayed the previous ones earlier this year because I was like, I should finish the last one, and because I never got around to playing the Aftermath DLC, so I'm like, I should probably finish that before the next one comes out because I imagine that's going to be important.
Yeah.
And I just went through all of them. You can play the Xbox version of Mortal Kombat 9 on Xbox One, backwards compatible if you have the disc. And I don't think they have that on the list of you can't buy it on the store backwards compatible, but if you put the disc in, you can. And that's cool. So I played through all of them. And I'm like, oh yeah, it was really good. Like it's still a pretty great story for what it is. You know, it's they do a good job.
Yep. All right, it's time to move on. We got so much to get to in today's show. We're going to talk next about last week. There was a Sony State of Play and a Nintendo Direct on the same day. Has that ever happened before, other than at E3 or something?
I mean, I don't remember it happening.
Yeah, I'm sure both of them were
usually they try to avoid that.
Yeah, but it was awesome. It was a great day.
You kind of want to own the zeitgeist of the day.
Yeah, you're right. It was a crazy day of work for me, curating all the stuff from both of these, and we're going to go through both the Sony State of Play and the Nintendo Direct. We're not going to cover everything, but we're going to cover the big stuff. Again, we have a lot of show here to get through before our time is up. But we're going to start with Sony's State of Play. And undoubtedly, the biggest story from Sony's State of Play was a brand new trailer for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And let me tell you, if there was ever a trailer that should be labeled fan service, this is the trailer. This is what I think people were waiting for with the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the meat of the game.
It really is. This trailer has so many iconic moments from the OG Final Fantasy VII in it that it's a splooge for Final Fantasy VII fans. It's just every shot has something in it that you're like, oh, wow, oh my, it's just one, and it's 4 minutes long. One thing I found this week that really shocked me was that the Final Fantasy VII remake only has sold 8 million copies, Matt. Which is fine, but if you think about...
Is that including the intergrade thing?
Yeah, that does include intergrade. And if you think about how people have been like,
My biggest question on this is how are they going to pronounce his name?
Oh, yeah. We'll see.
Because technically it's supposed to be Cat Shi.
Right.
In Gaelic. But everyone I've ever met calls him Cat Sith.
Yep.
So it's all right, I don't know. How are we going to do this?
So anyway, the Final Fantasy VII Remake, despite all the uproar about it, people falling out of their chairs or whatever all this hell that happened when they first debuted it, only sold lifetime 8 million copies, Matt. Now, everyone's grumbling about Final Fantasy 16 selling 3 million in the first week and a half or whatever. Like, maybe that's why Square Enix is like, wait a minute, we're okay with the Final Fantasy 16 sales. Like, it's funny. You think they're like, oh, Tomb Raider only sold 9 million. Well, it outsold your Final Fantasy 7 remake. It was supposed to be God's gift to gaming.
These games aren't actually as popular as their
That's
fans
what I'm
would like you to believe.
That's what I'm getting at.
I mean, they are popular for the time. Like 1997, 9 million people liking something was remarkable. That's crazy. Like, it's huge. But not anymore. Like, there's an audience for that, and it used to be the biggest thing in games, and it has become one of the moderate things in games as the audience for games in general has grown.
Yeah.
You're just not talking about the top of AAA sales anymore with Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Any of them. 7 probably has the best shot at being something beyond normal, but I don't know.
I feel like if they market this one right, this one will sell better.
If they market this one right, it could. The other problem I think the first one has is the fact that it's a first one.
Right.
The fact that it's not the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think they're being very smart by doing that pre-order package where you can get Integrate and this for basically the price of this. Mm-hmm. Like, for a limited time. I think it only goes for like 3 months or something. Mm-hmm. But that's very smart.
It is smart. Yeah.
And there's Vincent. Like, I wasn't 100% sure Vincent would be in this. Or they'd save him for the third one or something.
It almost feels like this is all of it.
I mean, there's a third one.
Is there a third one coming?
It
feels like what they show in this is almost the whole game.
Yeah, but
what's missing? Can you think of something?
The thing that might be missing is there might be a whole third act they've added because the story's different now.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
It's a whole different thing. That you don't really find out until near the end of the first one. But clearly, Zach's running around doing shit. There's a bunch of stuff that's going to be changed in this. Mm-hmm. We'll see. I mean, I definitely, from what I think the leaks before had said that they plan to have at least 3 installments. I believe this will take you up to basically the end of the main, because the way the original game worked was like you started in Midgar and then you sort of got booted out of the open world and then you kind of had to narrow your chase to Sephiroth to the top of the planet. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine this is going to end right around the time you realize you have to go get him at the top of the planet.
Well, which is weird, but Square Enix hinted that this is going to have, quote unquote, the most iconic moment, which we all know what that is. I'm not going to spoil it here.
But that's like halfway through the game.
Yeah, I guess you're right, actually. Yeah.
That happens pretty early.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah, you're right. So anyway, the big news is that we got a release date for this game. It is coming out February 29th on Leap Year Day. Mm-hmm. So next year is a leap year, and this is coming out on February 29th, Leap Year Day, which is should be an easy day for everybody to remember, and it's not that far away. So pretty exciting. Look, I'm not the world's biggest Final Fantasy VII fan, but this trailer got me pretty charged up, Matt. I got to admit it.
No, I certainly recognize the things in this trailer.
That's a good way to put it.
And I will say, I don't like Final Fantasy VII all that much, but I do think it's some of the best music work. Actually, it should be good. I think some of the best music composition work in the Final Fantasy series. I think it's one of the worst screechy MIDI
audio
interpretations on the original PlayStation 1. Like it's a musical crime.
Which is so weird because the reason it was a PlayStation game was because of the CDs.
For the CD thing, yeah.
And the music was supposed to sound better.
But compositionally, the music is fantastic. It's just like you had to wait until the orchestral CD collection to like hear it the way it should. But like hearing all the different themes and stuff in this trailer, like it played so as they always should have been, is really cool. I do like the music in this.
Yeah. Game's looking awesome.
I'm sure
I almost hate to admit it, but
I'm sure I'm gonna struggle through playing the damn thing because I didn't find the first one fun at all. But there were very few. I don't think there were any actual shots of shimmying in this one, so maybe we'll get lucky.
Oh, they're gonna be there, Matt. But anyway, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, it is a PlayStation 5 exclusive, Square Enix said, for at least 3 months, which isn't a very long window.
No. I've heard a bunch of different... I heard 3 months and then 6 months and then a year and then back to 3 months. Like, everybody had different dates.
Well, my guess is, like, they're feeling the sting from Final Fantasy 16 and they're just...
limiting it to one platform is just unnecessary, but I'm sure you've got some kind of deal with Sony. You got Honor.
So it looks like 3 months. Also, the collector's edition costs $350.
Yeah.
$350.
No, thank you.
That's crazy.
That's a statue and everything, though.
It does. Yeah, it's a lot. It has a lot of stuff, but $350, that's a lot. And then they also mentioned that you cannot import your saves from the first remake into this one. So you're starting all over from scratch, brand new.
Which really feels lame.
It feels lame, but I also kind of understand why.
I understand it, but also it's just like you'd think you want to have some kind of at least Mass Effect style continuity between these.
At least a couple like
games.
Hooks in the code that will change something in the new one.
But there's no decisions to really make in the first one, so it doesn't. What would it be?
What hook would there be? Yep.
Like what armor you have? Like who?
Right.
It's all gonna
or your sword or whatever.
It's all be replaced in an hour anyway.
Yep. So anyway, that was the big headline from Sony State of Play. But following very closely was an update on Marvel's Spider-Man 2. And most of the update was all about New York City and how they changed the open world and how the open world works.
New York City.
What I really enjoyed was just seeing new footage, because these trailers are just loaded. I wasn't even like listening to what they were saying about New York. I was just watching all the new gameplay that are in these 2 trailers that they released. They released like a New York thing, and they released a thing for like the digital deluxe version or whatever that showed off a bunch of the costumes that each of the Spider-Men would have and that kind of thing.
Which is fun. It's like, okay, cool. There's a ton of different stuff. I'm just going to wear this classic Peter Parker Spider-Man outfit, and I'm going to put Miles in probably either the default black and red or if they have a good version of the suit he wears in the movies.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's what I do.
Just like I did in the other.
I never wear the goofy outfits either. I want to look like Spider-Man.
In the original one, as soon as I get switched to the classic outfit, I did. I never went back. Looked back.
Me too.
I unlocked them all, but I never used them.
I want to play as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I play Spider-Man video games.
It's like, it's cool, but it's like, they're iconic. Like I want to see Miles. I don't want to see I don't want to see the Power Rangers version of Miles. I want to see Miles.
So they made a couple other announcements. There is ray tracing across all the visual modes. So whether you decide to go with resolution or performance, there's ray tracing on both of them. As I mentioned, the open world has a big update, and there's a lot of details in this trailer. Again, you can find it on Sifted. And they talked about the digital deluxe version. What was your big takeaway from all this new media?
I mean, my favorite thing is the fact that when you're running around doing random crimes, the other Spider-Man can show up and help you, or sometimes the other Spider-Man's already fighting them.
And you join.
In and stuff. Like that, the idea of the other character like moving around and doing stuff while you
independently.
I think that's very cool.
I agree.
I kind of wanted that to be in GTA 5.
Yeah,
like I was hoping that like you could
come across like a bank heist, and next thing you know, there's Trevor.
Like, what the hell is Trevor doing here? It's like but like it wasn't there. But like this sort of does.
It's pretty cool. And my other worry too is that one or the other would be neglected through big patches of the game. And it sounds like Insomniac's all over it. They're like, oh no.
I do think there will be a period where you can't use Peter because of the symbiote.
Right.
Because something...
Story-wise.
When everything goes horribly wrong with the symbiote, I think there'll be a period where he's out of action. But that'll get remedied, and then Venom shows up, and yada yada.
Game is looking ace.
Yeah. And like the speed of traversal looks cool. Like the there were people complaining that they didn't update the web swinging, and I was like, it's web swinging. What do you want them to do?
I mean, that's been settled law for a good decade now. Like, there's really...
and every time you push someone on that, all the ideas they have are terrible.
Right.
It's just like, well, I should be able to choose which hand I swing with, or I should be able to get real low to the ground to do tricks on the ground. I'm like, who fucking cares? Like the adding the slingshot and the wings is like all you need, because like you've made that's the thing, like
that's the thing, they have updated it,
right? And like also people don't really seem to, it's like, oh, open worlds or da. The thing that makes an open world good or bad is how you traverse it,
how you get around it. That's
the most important thing.
It's the secret sauce. Absolutely. This game's looking awesome though.
It looks like they nailed it again, as always.
And this comes out, is it October 20th?
October 20th.
So, I mean, we're like a month away.
I saw some guy in Japan found a copy in a store already.
What?
Like he had a case he was showing, a Japanese one. I don't know, which is weird because it went gold like yesterday.
Yeah.
So what was that? Like, I don't know what was going on there.
Well, maybe the gold is the day one update or whatever. That's weird.
It might have been a hoax.
It probably is a hoax. That'd be my guess, because the box art's out there. I know that for a fact. So you could have printed something up, and it may just be fake.
Yeah, the one underwhelming thing about all of these games is the box art. It's just Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I guess that's all it needs to be.
I think there's something to be said for simple box art, though.
Yeah, I mean, it gets it across.
Yeah, but I mean, people just want to go in the store and see Spider-Man and point at it and pay for it and go home and play. So,
all those outfits I'm never going to use.
Yeah, there's a ton of them.
I mean, I'm glad they put them in. And
some people.
It's like a tradition in Spider-Man games, going back to that PS1 game or Dreamcast game, where it's like, it's almost like a history of the character.
A little bit.
It's a little bit of Easter eggs, cool different things, Easter eggs for people who follow the comic books.
And then in Shattered Dimensions, They actually had parts where you played as those crazy nostalgic like Spider-Man.
You played the 4 different Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where Dan Slott got the idea, because he did a little bit of work on that. But that's where he got the idea for the Spider-Verse thing, which is, and then they put that in the comics. That's where Into the Spider-Verse comes from. That game started all that.
Yeah.
Like, there were alternate versions of Spider-Man before that, from various things, but that was where the idea for making it a whole big hook of a story came from, and that's why we have Into the Spider-Verse today.
Yep.
And none of the people who worked on that game ever get credit or money for that, believe me.
Yeah. By the way, that is the only first-party game in this state of play. The only one. Just shows you.
What about that Baby's?
That's not first party at all. That's actually coming to PC as well. We'll get to that, though, because that game looks bonkers. Next up, Helldivers 2. This is a game that I think a lot of people thought was a PlayStation exclusive because PlayStation had featured it kind of like it was. It's not. It's multi-platform.
I mean, that makes more sense because the first one was on everything.
Yeah. And it is like a 4-player cooperative sci-fi shooter. It looks very generic. Like, they showed basically a 4-minute chunk of cooperative gameplay. It reminded me of, what was that Ubisoft game where they had the fake like commentary laid over top as they played cooperatively?
All of them?
Well, there was that one that was very specific where they got raked over the coals for it.
I mean, the one they got raked over the coals for was Division.
The Division, yeah. This is very much like this. It's like got this fake banter over it. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I like the first Helldivers. It was kind of a mindless twin-stick shooter. I'm kind of hoping this is a mindless over-the-shoulder shooter. It looks like maybe it's not because it's got more of an online thing. Because you could play the first one pretty solo for the most part. This looks like maybe that's not.
Well, this also requires a lot of cooperation. If you watch this gameplay segment, like there's times where they're like, "Now we need to drop the big bomb or whatever."
I don't like that. I kind of like, it was a zone out, like, you know, like it was a zone out game for me. The first one. This one looks a little too involved to be that.
This game, after watching this, my interest in this game just hit rock bottom. Was like, this is like the most generic third-person shooter I've seen in a really long time.
I think turning it into this instead of the twin stick like higher angle shooter is a mistake.
Yeah, it was also delayed.
It kind of lost its uniqueness to me a little bit. Yeah,
it was also delayed out of the year. It's now coming out February 8th of 2024. Already, the first couple months of next year are starting to look pretty good. The new Like a Dragon game also was just announced today. It's coming out like in January.
End of January,
yeah. So it looks like the early part of next year is going to be pretty loaded with good stuff.
What's with all the segues?
I don't know.
In these games.
I don't know.
That game has a segue, clouds on a segue
it's so
at one point.
Weird.
Like,
this ancient technology that was rejected by
did Japan
society.
just find out that was a thing, or what?
Maybe. Cinetype says no love for baby steps. We're getting there, bro. Give us a minute. We'll get there. Next up, they showed the Resident Evil 4 DLC. Separate Ways with Ada Wong, which was a part of the OG Resident Evil 4 versions. It's coming to the remake as well. They also showed off Resident Evil 4 VR mode for PlayStation VR 2. This comes out on the 21st, so just another day or two until the Ada Wong DLC comes out. Think you'll go back and give it another go?
Probably not.
Yeah, there's just too much.
Yeah.
Like, already I'm starting to get overwhelmed. October's around the corner. I wish I could go back and play this, because this is like brand new story DLC. You kind of brush shoulders with some of the moments from Leon through the game, but otherwise Ada's doing a lot of her own stuff. Like, and she's completely different from playing Leon. And so it really is a completely different perspective on the entire game. And so I want to play it. I just don't know if I'm going to have time to, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm starting to build outposts in Starfield of a certain size, so I'm getting absorbed into that.
Yeah, I could see that totally.
Got a whole manufacturing business shaping up here.
Yep. And next up is Cinetype's request, Baby Steps. This is the next game from the team that made Ape Out and Getting Over It. You may remember Getting Over It. It was that weird game where there was a muscular dude in a pot, and he had a sledgehammer. Mm-hmm. And you just use the sledgehammer to try to climb to the top of the environment. And basically that's the whole objective of the game. It became a huge streaming game. Like, people would watch people, and it's like so demoralizing when you get all the way to the top of the thing you're climbing and you make one slight mistake and you fall all the way back to the bottom. That made a lot of people want to watch it when people streamed it. This is the next game, and basically it's about this slacker guy who's living in his parents' basement, and he gets sucked into this alternate reality where he does not know how to walk. So he has to relearn how to walk all over again. And so it's really kind of the same concept as getting over it. You're walking to the top of these things instead of using this dude with an anvil and a pot.
I mean, it looks like they just made they made a quest game out of QWOP.
Yeah. This is of both directs on the same day. This was easily the most unique game, but I could also see it easily being the most frustrating game of all of them. Again, this game is also coming to PC. I can understand why you see stuff like this in a state of play, and you assume, especially an indie game like this, you assume that it might be a platform exclusive. It is a console exclusive for now, but it's also coming to PC as well.
Feels like something they'd make you do in Death Stranding.
Yeah, what, like walk perfectly?
Walk weird or walk. It's like.
Yeah, like I wasn't a big fan of Getting Over It. Did you play it?
No, I don't think. I mean, I know what it is, but I
played it for like an hour, and I was like, nope, I'm good. I'm over this.
I'm not super into the games that are like, we're going to be intentionally frustrating. I'm like, that's cool. You go do that. I'll be over here.
This game has that very same vibe. Although it does seem funny, like that cutscene that you're seeing there, if you can actually hear what they're saying, it is pretty funny.
I did enjoy the thing with the grappling hook. Where it's like, just use your grappling hook, bro.
Yeah.
It's just like... Because it's like he keeps running into actual video game protagonists.
Right, yeah.
And he's like, right. Grappling hook.
They're trying to tell him what they do in their games, basically, and he's like, "Oh, that doesn't work here, unfortunately."
And it's just like in a onesie.
So it could end up being really funny, but my guess is it's also going to be supremely frustrating. It's one of those games where they're forcing you to relearn how to do something that you just do automatically in every other video game, and sometimes that doesn't go over well with players. But we'll see. Again, that game is called Baby Steps. And then we got to learn the story behind Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. It does not follow the plot of the films. Basically, you play...
We knew all this.
Yeah, we kind of knew that it was like...
We knew you were playing a Na'vi who had been basically raised by humans in like the military complex, and then you got booted out when they left at the end of the first game. And then you basically get...
Yeah, this is 15 years after you're abducted by...
Yeah, this is basically
the
the story of the humans coming back to Pandora that you saw in Avatar 2, except you're seeing it very much from the point of view of the forest Na'vi and not from, like, Jake Sully and his family.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't particularly like the Avatar movies, but I do think... Avatar Cry is the way to go with this one. Like, letting me explore the world instead of like putting me through a rewritten Captain Planet script is definitely more interesting to me.
Yeah, well, the big objective in this game is reconnecting with your lost heritage because you've been missing for 15 years or whatever.
Which is a very convenient way of starting you at level 1.
Right. But that could be very interesting as well.
Oh, yeah. Like, I'm sure you got to go through all the standard stuff.
Relearning how to tame and all that.
Tame your Banshee, because she's never been...
Yeah, a part of their society.
But it also means she can use guns.
Right.
And all these other things. So you can make it... Again, it is Far Cry Pandora.
Yeah.
So,
which I'm okay with.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, honestly, that's probably the direction Far Cry should go. Far Cry needs to go a little further afield.
I'd agree.
I think Far Cry Pandora is great. I think maybe you should talk to Star Wars about Far Cry something with that. Like Far Cry Tatooine or Far Cry Endor or some shit.
Seriously.
Like, go crazy with it.
Yeah, the formula's great. Like, you can just put a new coat of paint on it, and I'll give it a go.
You just got to come up with things I haven't seen in the formula before, and I would say Pandora is going to provide some of that.
Yep. One of the cooler, more underground games from the State of Play is a brand new strategy RPG called Unicorn Overlord, which is...
This is my pick of this whole thing.
I figured most people probably would.
Vanillaware... You say Vanillaware, I'm in.
I'm in. Yeah, me too. And I feel like that studio doesn't have the recognition that it should have.
Probably not, but
I think for people like us, it does.
They've never made anything less than great.
I know, you're right. And they make some bold claims in this trailer where they're like, we're rewriting the book on the strategy RPG. And the funny part is, I'm like, okay.
Sure, maybe.
You might actually do that. You're Vanillaware. But what I really love about Vanillaware is just its house art style.
Yeah.
That it carries over into pretty much all its games. It's just stunning. Like nothing else looks like it. Like,
and I love that, like, back when they were starting to be that kind of recalcitrant, the kickback against over sexualized designs in games and stuff. And of course, what's his name? What's the
Dragon's Crown?
Dragon's Crown or whatever it was. Was it Princess Crown was also them. But I can't remember that Dragon's Crown was that.
I think it was, yeah.
But basically, it has that witch with the giant boobs and everything. And somebody asked the artist on it, it's like, why do they, why does she have giant boobs, and why does that all the art and all the games have all the? And he just goes, I like looking at giant boobs. And like all the people I know who are like super anti-sexualized game devs are like, yeah, that's cool. That's
yeah, that's
fair.
fine.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, too.
Me too.
It's like, yeah, they're all just like, yeah, just say it, just admit it. Like, why do you do that?
There's nothing wrong with
because I want to
admiring.
look at giant boobs. It's like don't make up some kind of weird sociological reason for it. Just be like, no, I like looking at giant boobs. It's like, and so like. So that guy kind of weirdly became a hero. In that way.
There's nothing wrong with admiring the female form.
Just fucking admit it.
Be honest.
Just fucking say so. It's fine.
Absolutely. Yep.
So nothing else quite looks like it.
Yeah. And then the final thing that they showed, there was other stuff, but the thing we're going to talk about is the Deep Earth collection for PlayStation 5 controllers and plates. So there's 3 new colors of controllers. There's 3 new colors for the console covers, as they call them. I call them plates. And they're all like metallic. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I would have these in the crib, but I'm just happy with my matte black or whatever. But again, these look pretty sharp.
These are useless to me. Like the only time I will ever buy a new controller is if one of them breaks. So like at no point do I say like, oh, I gotta get the metal red controller. Right. I don't care. Does it work? I'm fine.
I think these look pretty sharp. And
I think they look better on the controllers than they do on the system.
I'd agree. Yeah, because those plates are pretty big, man. They're pretty garish.
Like that's a lot of
a lot of metallic.
A lot of that metallic red in your house if you decide to buy the PlayStation 5 plates.
And then there was a couple smaller things. Tales of Arise Beyond the Dawn story DLC for Tales of Arise. There's a Foam Stars open beta coming, which is that weird like Splatoon type thing from Square Enix.
Splatoon, but with a fetish.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not that Splatoon doesn't feed a number of those. Anyway.
Right, exactly. And that's running from September 29th to October 1st. Again, you can find that on Sifted if you just search for Foam Stars. There's information to sign up there. And then they showed a token PlayStation VR 2 game, Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord. Ugh. Already, you can see that PlayStation VR 2 is over.
Yep.
You can see it already.
It's done.
You can see it in the state of play. There was Resident Evil 4 Remake VR and that. And they just launched the damn thing. Where's the games?
They're already done.
Don't say we didn't warn you about PlayStation VR 2.
And that, I mean, I'm a big Ghostbusters dork, as well. You know, I have a replica Proton Pack downstairs.
Yeah.
But like, I physically hate the art style in that game.
Yeah.
Like, I should be into a VR Ghostbusters game, but wow, that looked bad.
Yeah, I actually have it. I did have a trailer loaded up, but we're running short on time, so I'm trying to skip through some of this stuff. But now that you mentioned it, I want to show it to people so they can see it.
Yeah, I just don't. And also, you can see how annoying this is to play in VR.
Oh, yeah. You can already see the hands.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not going to, like, aim right. And you got to, I'm going to try to grab the trap. Oh, I can't
but my
grab
hands
the
aren't
trap
going
right.
to.
I can't do that.
You're right. You can already see it happening. So, there you go. That's Sony's latest state of play. You think we'll get another one before the end of the year?
I don't know.
Where's the first party stuff, Matt? Where was Fair Games?
They're all next year.
Would have been nice to see something.
Don't need to see it. They got
What
Spider-Man.
Another awful year for Sony first party.
All they got is they got Spider-Man. They don't need anything else.
I mean, it's been a whole damn year.
It doesn't matter.
That's crazy.
Don't need to worry about it until next year. Might see some stuff at the Game Awards, but I don't think we'll see a state of play until next year.
Yep. So anyway, there you go. That's Sony's state of play. Next up, like I said, on the same day, Nintendo's Direct threw down a bunch of big stuff, and we were wondering just a few months ago, like, what's happening with Switch for the next 12 months? Now we know. They announced a bunch of games in this Direct.
Yeah, it's called stalling.
Yeah, but I mean, they announced games that are coming out next summer.
Oh, yeah. But it's interesting to me that almost all of them are either they feel like smaller placeholder things or they're remakes of ancient games.
Right on cue.
Not a single thing in this is something that everything else is being held for the Switch 2.
Yeah.
Like they're clearly tap dancing until it's time to put
They're
the real
using
shit
remakes to get through the transition. The first of which.
And look, they're picking good ones, to be fair. But
yeah, speaking of which, Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door.
The best Paper Mario game.
Yep, GameCube game. It's now 15-some years old. It's being remade for Switch. Mm-hmm. I would argue that the original game still looks pretty damn good, honestly.
Yeah, it doesn't need a lot of help, but obviously this does look a lot better.
The creativity in this game is ridiculous, by the way. Like, it just totally just dives headfirst into the whole paper thing. Like, I feel like that's what these games have lost over time.
Yeah, they've never matched this again.
No.
This is the best one by far.
Yep. And it is coming to Switch. It's only announced for 2024 right now. We don't have any idea what quarter or anything. But it is coming next year, and it is coming to Switch, and this is a great game. This is one of those games that used to be worth a lot of money that now I wonder after this if its value will just plummet. So you might want to go sell your copy of this game right now if you can. Also, GameCube game prices are still like through the roof as well, so it might be a opportune time.
I mean, collectors are collectors. I don't think that'll ever really go away.
Sometimes when you put out like the new version of something, the prices go down.
It can, but like people who care about this stuff are always going to want the actual copy of it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll affect it that much.
This is a great game. It's highly recommended by both Matt and I. So keep an eye on this one. Again, it's coming out sometime next year. Next up, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon HD, but now they've changed the name of it to Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Yeah. This was originally a 3DS game that is also great, by the way. Like, even the 3DS with its meager visuals, it's a great Luigi's Mansion game. And now they've just completely redone. It's almost like it's a different game.
Yeah,
like,
it's very different. It's like good. Like,
right. A good different. Yeah.
Having all the Luigi's Mansions playable on one platform is a good.
And all now in like full 3D instead of this crude sort of hacked together thing that they did on 3DS. This game is great. Also, like, I have no problem if Nintendo wants to keep remaking games like this. I'm all about it. I really have no issue with it at all. Like,
I mean, it beats trying to get me to buy some new dumb thing that I don't care about.
Right. Yeah. Although I would argue one of my big sort of complaints about this is like Nintendo also isn't providing new IP anymore. Like, it launched ARMS, and that's like the last real new IP that we've seen from Nintendo.
They had ARMS and codename Steam.
Yeah.
And that was the last two I can really think of.
And so it does feel a little bit like Nintendo's getting a little lazy with developing new properties, but again...
But at the same time, like, there's plenty of ways to iterate on and execute on their existing stuff. You don't need to reinvent the wheel over and over again.
Yeah. Yep, it's true. The game that I was most interested...
You could just finish Metroid Prime 4. How about that?
Yeah. The game, oddly enough, that I was most interested to learn more about, and I hoped it would appear in this, and it did, was Princess Peach Showtime. It is this weird, like, 2D side-scrolling Princess Peach game where they go to the theater to see a play, and the play's interrupted, and so they go on a journey to save the play, and she uses, like... As it turns out, it's really like a 2D action adventure starring Princess Peach. And she has these ribbons that give her special abilities, and then those tie into the platforming and the combat and the puzzles and things like that. Also, this game's look, by the way, gives me a horrible Balan Wonderworld, or Wonderland, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, there is a Balan Wonderworld quality
Which is not something,
to the villains.
Yes, exactly. Which is not something that I'm too excited about. But overall, this game looks completely off-the-chain weird, which Nintendo should be doing more of, in my opinion. I wish we got more Nintendo weird than we do these days. Also, it's good that they're making game, or at least a game with Princess Peach. They're making more games that'll appeal to girls and women more. There needs to be more of that from not just from Nintendo, but from everybody. And not, it doesn't have to be a Princess Peach game to appeal to girls either, but... Truth be told, for most young girls, they would like to play a Princess Peach game. Even my wife, I got her a GBA, and I got her a Princess Peach game, and she loved it. Like, she's like, oh, it's a Princess Peach game. So
it also makes sense in the wake of how Peach is portrayed in the movie.
True.
That, like, you want to capitalize on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think her portrayal in the movie was very successful among fans, and not just female fans either. I think also male fans. And so that game looks pretty cool. It's coming March 22nd of 2024, so not long to wait for it either. The game ended up being a lot more interesting than I thought based upon that initial trailer that we got like a month and a half or 2 months ago, which really was like, what the hell is this game? Now we have a better idea. As you can see, there's also some detective stuff in there.
Yeah, the different ability she has beyond just the sword fighting is interesting.
Yep.
I'm glad it wasn't just that one thing, and it's certainly better than the old... DS game where she defeated enemies by crying on them.
Yeah. That's how you do not handle games for girls.
And I love that somebody turned this little clip here into the Evo Moment 37 thing where Justin Wong getting parried and killed by Daigo. And Justin Wong retweeted it and just said, sigh. It's like... That loss follows that man for like 20 years. You can buy a little like a framed like recreation of it from like there's a series of like 3D diorama things of various classic video games, and one of them is literally that moment of Chun-Li getting parried through that, and it's just like the man is haunted for his entire life. Daigo trolls him every time they play each other by and he's like, no, and he's like, oh, okay, I won't do it.
Next up, another remake. Again, Nintendo's getting a little lazy here. Another remake. This one is Mario vs. Donkey Kong for Switch. This was a GBA game?
There's a bunch, a few of them, yeah.
Did it start on the GBA?
That sounds right. Or it was either GBA or Game Boy Color. I can't remember
which. But it's really like a Lemmings type game where you control these, as you see right here, these little robotic Marios, and
Donkey Kong is really predisposed to theft.
He really is. Like, he's a thief. He's a gorilla crook. But it's really like a puzzle platformer. There's not a lot of sort of hand-eye coordination required for this. It's really, well, as you see, it's about observation and action. Mm-hmm. Did you like Mario vs. Donkey Kong back when it came out?
No.
Me either. It didn't really catch on with me at all.
It just didn't click.
I'm a little surprised that they're remaking this game.
There is, I think, a pretty... there's an audience for it in the sense of, like, there's a generation that grew up with these.
Yeah.
I think they're just much younger than us.
Maybe. It's a little similar to, I think, what they're doing with, like, the Captain Toad stuff.
Yeah.
Where they're like, hey...
Although I like the Captain Toad stuff a lot more.
Me too. Yeah, I agree. I actually enjoyed Captain Toad a lot. But this is really like a puzzle platformer more than anything. It's not about, like, your great hand-eye, your platforming skills, so to speak.
Yeah, there's some of it, but it's more about solving the puzzle.
Yeah. And this is coming February 16th of next year. So Nintendo's really mapping out, like...
They are at least trying to keep everybody busy while they wait for the new system.
Yeah. And based upon all this stuff that we're seeing here, it feels like the new system's coming second half of the year next year.
Yeah, feels like it.
Yep. Next up, a game that is out now, and that is F-Zero 99. The next in the 99 line, if you're not familiar with it, they're basically these battle royale games that Nintendo makes, and it puts them up just on Nintendo Switch Online. And it's free if you're a subscriber to Nintendo Switch Online. There's been Tetris 99, there's been Super Mario 99. This one, basically... Pac-Man 99. This one, you basically need to be the last car standing. And you have a meter, and you see, well, it's funny, the trailer is explaining it all perfectly. There's a power meter, and if it gets to zero, you get blown up. And there's ways that you can replenish a little bit of your power meter. Have you played this yet, Matt?
Nope.
It's pretty addicting, man.
And I will not.
You won't play it at all?
My main thing that I've never liked about the old F-Zeros is how fragile the car is.
Yeah.
And the
this is a whole game about it.
Managing the car's life bar is the absolute least interesting thing about F-Zero to me. And they've made a whole game out of it.
They have, yeah.
And it's just like, nope, don't. I have zero interest in this.
I've actually found myself pretty addicted to it. I haven't won yet. I think the closest I've got is like 18th or something like that. It's hard to win.
This is the biggest letdown of the entire direct.
That it wasn't F-Zero GX.
Anything else. Literally anything else I would prefer over this.
Well, the leaks were true. There was a new F-Zero game coming.
Yeah,
like, they were right. We just never would have guessed that this was what it would be.
No.
I actually like it. I've had a lot of fun with it playing it over the last couple days. I can understand where some people wouldn't like it and may be pissed off because they were hoping for something different from F-Zero like you were. Once I got over the shock, I actually sat down and played it, and I had fun with it.
But it doesn't even really capture like the F-Zero thing. It feels more like F-Zero 64 to me. Like it's like where
F-Zero X.
F-Zero X had so many cars on the road. That was
you're actually that's a good analogy. You're right. Yeah,
and that's kind of my least favorite F-Zero. So, it's like there wasn't
a lot to bring you in.
I mean, it's nice that F-Zero came back in any form, but they really took it in the absolute opposite direction I wanted anything to be. So
I found it to be pretty clever, but I can understand.
I mean, it makes sense. Like as soon as they said F-Zero 99, I'm like, oh yeah,
we should have guessed that.
Of course. I completely forgot. It's been so long since they did another one of those.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Yep. I play Tetris 99 still a lot. And then next up,
I think the Pac-Man one was my favorite.
That's pretty good too. They've all been, I think, pretty good.
This one's just not for me.
Yeah,
like nothing against it. Just oh no.
Yeah. Well, it's a whole game about what you hate most about F-Zero.
Yeah, and in that sense, it's kind of impressive. They managed to distill everything all the things I don't like about a franchise into a single game.
Yeah. Yep.
Well done.
Takes skill. Next up, they showed the first, I think, real trailer of Ayuden Chronicle 100 Hero. Mm-hmm. And this is the game that we've been waiting for. This is the spiritual successor to Suikoden. There was another Ayuden Chronicle game that was like a precursor. I still don't understand why they made that game, but okay. But
it's a lead-in, and it has some characters in it that are going to show up in this. And I believe if you import the save, whatever you did in that game is going to impact that part of that town in the world of your
so
game.
there is some real tie-in between
there
the
is going to be some actual interplay between what you did in that. And I really enjoyed that game. It was
good.
Kind of a mindless action RPG,
good.
but it actually kept me playing for a long time.
But this is what everyone's waiting for.
Oh yeah, this is the Suikoden that everyone has been wanting.
And we got the release date. It's coming out April 23rd of 2024. Already, there's so many great games coming in the first part of next year.
Although this was supposed to be out in July.
It was, yeah. This is a Kickstarter game, and I always give a little leeway for that stuff.
Yeah,
but
any Kickstarter, you look at the thing, it says it'll deliver by now, in a video game anyway. Not board games and some other stuff are generally more on time. But generally, if a video game on Kickstarter, you just look at whatever it says it's going to be, add a year.
Yeah. And that's how it's going to work out for this one.
And if it makes it that long, you're lucky. Because some of us backed Star Citizen in 2011 or whatever. Yeah. And that was supposed to be out in 2014.
Yep. And here we are.
Almost 10 years later.
Yeah. Although I think they went to version 3.0 today.
No. They've never... Maybe Alpha.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like...
Alpha 0.3 or whatever.
They had a milestone today. I don't know how big of a milestone it really was.
Well, it ain't the fucking game coming out, is it?
Nope. Next up, a new Contra game from Konami. It's called Contra Operation Galuga. A lot of disappointment on the website for this. All the comments on this on sifted.net were just like, ugh. Like... Now Konami's going to ruin another franchise. I mean, I don't know. It looks like Contra to me.
It looks like Contra. I mean, it's fine.
It is what it is.
Sure. I'm more concerned about the leaks that imply that there's some kind of Xbox Castlevania thing coming up.
Oh.
Which might just be a controller, but it was hard.
I didn't see that, actually.
It was a very vague thing that popped up. It was like 2 code words or something.
Yeah.
But there might just be a Castlevania controller, but maybe it would be in conjunction with a DS collection because they just did the Advanced collection.
Yeah. This game does include cooperative play and all the stuff you'd expect from a Contra. I mean, it just seems like this is the best we're going to get out of Konami at this point. Just these little indie takes on their IP.
Yeah, I mean...
I wish they would hand it to somebody who would actually do something with it, but
what are you going to do with Contra? What else are you going to do with Contra?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. To me, that's Contra.
Yeah.
Like, I don't find much wrong with that, but for whatever reason, people on the website were like, puke. They hated it.
I mean, there's some people that just really hate that sort of 2D, 3D thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing something a little more along the lines of Contra 3.
Yeah.
The Super Nintendo game.
Yeah. That's my favorite.
I think it's the best one by far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the one final thing we're going to mention, and that is Tomb Raider 1 through 3 Remastered. This is not a Switch exclusive, though. This is coming to everything, literally everything. It's also coming in 2024. I really have very little interest in playing the first 3 Tomb Raider games again, but I guess there's a market for it out there.
Hot take. These games suck.
They really
do. And they always sucked. We just didn't know any better.
Yeah. Back when they came out, they were the best games on the market for that type of game. There weren't any other games on the market.
Except they were just really frustrating pieces of shit.
Yeah.
And they always were, and they always have been, and it looks like they're going to continue to be. So
there might be some quality of life tweaks.
No. We'll never touch these again.
Yeah, I'm good too.
No interest whatsoever.
And then, other than that, there was some new trailers for stuff we already know about. Detective Pikachu Returns, that's coming out October 6th. WarioWare Move It, that comes out November 3rd. Super Mario RPG Remake, that comes out November 17th. And then they showed the final wave of Mario Kart 8 DLC. Finally, they are sending Mario Kart 8 out to pasture. All this stuff is lining up. Everything that we've seen here...
Because you got to launch Mario Kart 9 with a new system, so...
Yeah. It's all lining up, people. So my guess is we're going to see Switch somewhere around mid-year next year, something like that. They have games stacked until the summer of next year, and then chop. So that's what it looks like to me. We'll see. But Nintendo has a pretty good next 8 to 10 months lined up, man. It's got at least one pretty damn good game every month for the next 8 months, that's a dream if you think back to Nintendo in pretty much any era between the Super Nintendo and the Switch. Even the Wii. The first couple years were great. After that, it was a black hole again.
Yeah. Nintendo has very commonly settled into a one game per quarter pattern.
good to see that all change.
They have mostly avoided that with the Switch.
Yeah, it's been great to see. So anyway, there you go. That's the latest Nintendo Direct. My guess is we will definitely see another Nintendo Direct before the end of the year. This one came out of nowhere, by the way. Like, they announced it the day before it happened, and they're like, here you go. And it ended up being awesome. That was a great Nintendo Direct. It was loaded with great stuff. So there you go. That's the roadmap for Switch for the next 8 to 10 months, and it's looking pretty dang good. Next up, we're going to talk about the Crew Motorfest. I have to admit, Matt, it's a game that, like, no one's talking about. Like,
nobody cares.
There's only, like, 2 reviews. They should, though. That's what I'm getting at.
Really? Because Crew 1 and 2 were garbage.
They were. I hated the Crew 1 and 2. And I know it may feel like sacrilege to compare this game to Forza Horizon, in my opinion.
I mean, it's clearly what they're trying to do.
Right. My opinion, the best arcade racing game and franchise on the market. But I got to tell you, Matt, this game compares favorably to Forza Horizon. In some ways, it's better because it does more than just cars. It does cars. It does motorcycles. It does boats. It does planes. And you can pretty much...
they didn't show any of that stuff in the trailers.
It is weird.
It looked like it was just cars again.
I know. It's weird, but it has all that stuff. And the cool part about you can do crazy stuff in this game. Like, you can get in a plane and then fly high above the map and then just switch to a car in midair and just drop all the way down to the ground. Like, you can switch at any point, anytime you want, from one vehicle to the next, once you own the vehicle, so to speak. So a lot of people are, if you're a PlayStation owner, you haven't been able to play Forza Horizon. You've been waiting for a really good open world arcade style driving game. And this is it. I was also surprised, Matt, that this is only the 3rd game in the Crew franchise. Yeah. Because they go on so long.
Yeah, it feels like we've been dealing with them longer.
It really does. This game is set on just one island of Hawaii, in Oahu.
I mean, the last time when Crew 2 came out, Sam was still coming over to do the TriCast.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. This is set in Hawaii, but only on Oahu. And obviously, there's a bunch of islands in Hawaii, but they decided to just put it on one. And I will say this. Like, for an open world game, it is small. Like, you can drive the whole circumference of the island in like 15 minutes.
I mean, that's sort of true in real life.
It is, yeah. But I'm just saying, when you compare it to like Forza Horizon, where it takes you 15 minutes to drive across the world.
Let's let them figure themselves out. Like,
that's the thing. They have figured a lot out already. Like, I can't believe this is a Crew game. And it's the same team that made the first 2 Crew games because it's nothing like the other Crew games. So again, the other thing, it is a shameless ripoff of Forza Horizon. You're the music and driving festival going on the island. The only time you ever really interact with it is when you drive by and you see like one of the music stages, or you drive by and you see some fans kind of dancing or whatever. But otherwise, it's just this fake setup for why you're on this island racing around, and it is very flimsy and it is very cheap that it totally rips off Forza Horizon. There's no doubt about that. And the way the game is designed is a little different, too. It's all split up into playlists. So when you first start the game, there's like 5 different playlists to choose from, and they're very themed. There's like, here's like Japan, and you get the neon lights, and you get all the crazy Japanese cars, and the drifting, and all that kind of stuff. Here's the muscle cars playlist, where you play with like the 1957 Chevy, and all the cars from the 70s that have crazy engines and horrible gas mileage. And how it works is you drive to a certain point in the open world, and you drive to this location and you unlock the playlist. Once you unlock the playlist, then they go to the map and they start showing you all the events for that playlist, popping and unlocking basically all over Oahu. And then you start playing those races in any order that you want to and trying to complete the playlist. Now, you don't have to complete the playlist before you start another one. However, you do have to go to the trigger point for that playlist first and ignite it. And once again, unlock all the races and events for that playlist around the island, and then you can just drive and play those events in any order that you want to. It's an interesting way to do it. There's 10 total playlists in the game, and they do run the gamut and make sure that the game has a bunch of variety in it and things like that. But it's a little restrictive. Like, I would just prefer to like just have everything unlocked on the island and just let me drive wherever the hell I want and just do the races. I'm not sure why they decided to do it this way, but it is a little bit restrictive. At least in my opinion, it is. But really, the difference between this and Forza Horizon is the variety. And it's not just that there's different vehicles. It's also like the race types. Like there's just more interesting stuff to do in this game. For example, like there's like all the typical driving stuff. Like there's drag races, but they built like a completely different interface for the drag races. There's drifting, which I hate in this game, just like I hate in every freaking driving game. But there's other really cool stuff, like emergent stuff. Like there is this Smash Up Derby Battle Royale that just happens in the open world. And the cool thing about it is you don't have to like drive to the location. That's one thing about Forza Horizon. It's like, this event's popping up, get over there. And then you try to use your fast travel or whatever to get to there before the timer runs out to join the event. In this, when the event starts happening in the open world, you just tap the triangle button and you register for it, and immediately you're taken there to do it.
To be fair, Horizon 5 finally did add it. It just jumped me to the event option.
Yep, and this does it right out of the gate. The first time they've decided.
For a long time.
Yeah.
It was sort of like, can you get there? We don't know.
Will I make it in time? Exactly. And this is just like you register for it with a click of a button, and off you go to the event, and it's fun as hell. It is literally 100 cars in a smash-up derby, last car standing. Like, I got totally hooked on that and played that for like 3 hours. Like, there's all kinds of cool stuff. And again, because you do have all the different vehicles, it opens it up to a bunch of different like race types. Like the boats. Like the boats are like, the first race is just on flat water and you're on your jet boat or whatever. Simple. But at the same time, there's nuances to the controls. You control how much of your boat is out of the water, and that impacts how fast it will go. Well, that's the first race. Second race, it's a little choppy, so you're getting a little bit of air, and you start to learn how to manage the waves. Like, you start doing kind of what you did in Excitebike 64, where you reorient your rider on the downslope of the wave. So your boat goes up, it goes airborne, you orient it so it's on the downslope, so when it hits the water, it gets a full grip with the motor and takes off. Every discipline in this has nuance to how you control it, and it ultimately affects how the objectives play out. So the third race with the boat, you're in a huge boat, and the waves are gigantic, but now you've learned that you accelerate on the up, you let off when you're airborne, and then you reorient and go down, and it's everything in this has something like that. F1. There's F1 in this. It feels great. Like, it feels as good as, like, EA's F1 franchise to me. And there's pit stops, and you have to manage your tires. Like, I'm blown away by this game a little bit, I'll be honest with you, Matt. Like, I'm surprised more people aren't talking about it. Like, if you look at the reviews...
I'm not, because everybody I know who'd possibly be interested in this game all refused to fucking touch it because they played the previous Crew game.
Because it's the Crew.
They should not have called this the Crew.
But you may be right. The reviews for this, like, if you watch or read any of the reviews, nobody has any criticisms for it. Other than it's exactly like Forza Horizon, which is a fair criticism. But as far as like then they score it a 7 or what? It's like, no, like, this game is good. Like, if you are a PlayStation owner who has been jealous of the Forza Horizon franchise now for like a decade or more, this is your game. This is a game that you've been waiting for. I have been pleasantly surprised by this. Another thing that's kind of weird about the game is, like, when you go to events, your cars don't matter. So the cars that you collect, it's a thing like it is in every driving game, your livery and, you know, earning credits to buy new cars and things like that. It's all part of this game. However, almost every event you go to, you race it in a borrowed car. They give you a car to race as. You can't even choose to race in your own car if you want to. They're just like, nope, you're racing in this. Now, once you've finished the playlist, you can go back and redo the events, and there's tweaks to the events and stuff to make them worthwhile to do again. And at that point, you can use the cars that are in your actual livery. But otherwise, like, the cars you actually own in this game end up feeling more like just an avatar. Like, you can use them to drive to the next event, or you can just fast travel there, which is what you end up doing most of the time anyway. And the open world stuff, there is emergent stuff there too. There's speed traps like there are in Forza Horizon, where you just need to go as fast as you can. But there's also like these impromptu slaloms that just pop up. Like, you're just driving down the road, and all of a sudden slalom gates will pop up. There's this other race that I don't even know how to really explain it. There's like these gates that you drive through, but they're almost like a cone. And the first gate is really big, but then it narrows down to like the cone. And the longer you stay in the cone, the more points you get. And all that stuff goes to like these online leaderboards where you can instantly see like which of my friends has the highest score at this speed trap, which of my friends has the highest score in this cone race, which of my friends has the highest score in this slalom race. Like, and it pops up like right away. And not just that, like your global rank, like, you know, my speed trap, I'm like 15,000th or whatever. Like, It's pretty cool, man. Like, I'm surprised that people aren't talking about this game more. They should be. Because, again, there's been this hole in the market. Like, this game is way better than Need for Speed Unbound, for example, which is the latest decent arcade racing game for PlayStation. This mops the floor with Need for Speed Unbound. It's way better, way more accessible, way more fun, way more variety in everything, in the tone, in the cars, in the events, all of it. The fast travel, we talked about it earlier about how, your enjoyment of an open world game is directly proportionate to how you can fast travel. Fast travel in this is great. Any playlist that you've already activated, you can fast travel to that point at any time. You can activate a bunch of other fast travel points. Like I said, your car almost becomes an avatar eventually because the fast travel is so good. But again, there's cars, there's planes, there's boats, there's bikes, there's crotch rockets, there's four-wheelers, there's motocross bikes. They all have their own tracks. They all have their own handling models. They all have their own physics. It's crazy. Like, this game is an achievement, and I feel like nobody's talking about it and nobody cares. And I feel
because when they announced it, several of the Discords I was in, the whole response was "fuck the Crew."
Yeah, and I get that because I didn't like either of the Crew games before this one at all. Now, the one thing I would say of the vehicles, the one that is kind of a disappointment is the planes. The planes handle fine, and the whole objective with planes is fighting against the wind. And you will see the wind, actually. They will show, like, the clouds or whatever will roll sideways to let you know which direction the wind's going. But it's just kind of annoying, and most of the plane stuff...
Plane races just aren't all that interesting by
You're right.
just by what they are.
Yeah, you're right. You're flying through hoops, basically.
Yeah, the fun of racing tends to be the speed. And while you are going fast in a plane, it's hard to tell you're going fast in a plane a lot of times.
It is. There's no sense of speed. There's
nothing to compare it to because you're up in the air.
Yeah. The leveling is kind of glacial in this. It does take forever to gain a level, but it ultimately doesn't matter all that much because, again, you don't need cars. You go to the event, they give you the car for every event. You never are required to have a car. Now, you do have to buy vehicles to unlock a new type. So, to unlock the boat races for the first time, you do have to buy your first boat. And once you've bought that boat, then the boat races unlock. The planes were not that way. For some reason, I was able to just jump in with the planes without buying one, so it's not 100% that works with everything, but that was the way that the boats worked. But ultimately, the game is gated by credits, which amounts to cars, and the cars are the way to unlock the new...
Can you buy credits with real money?
Oh, yeah. And the option to do that is always right next to the option to pay with the in-game currency. Sure. It is slimy. I will admit. Now I've never felt.
It's still a Ubi game. So.
It is. I've never felt the urge to spend real money on this, but it's there. So that is something that you should definitely consider for sure. And there's a rewind feature, so if you mess up. But the other thing, my biggest complaint about this really is how long the races are. Each race is like 8 minutes long. And again, there is a rewind there, so if you mess up too bad, you can rewind it. But it's annoying. The races are so long, and it's just like you're just like white knuckle the whole damn time because this is one of those games where if you make a mistake, provided you've set the difficulty to what it should be, and you're not just like playing it on easy or whatever, if you set it to where you're actually challenged, if you make one mistake, you have to rewind. You'll never catch back up to the pack. And so it's like 8 minutes of like high anxiety, like hoping you don't make a mistake, or if you do, hoping you have enough rewind juice to rewind far enough that you can get back into the race, because 8-minute races that you have to stop and restart over are very discouraging, to say the least. The vehicle modeling is great. The game takes every opportunity to show them off. The car porn is definitely in play here. Now, the vehicles, there aren't as many as you see in Forza Horizon. The number is the same, but when you start playing the game, you realize there's like 7 RX-8s and 8 different 370Zs, and like they kind of cheat a little bit. They basically count like a different paint job or a wrap on a car is a separate car. So there are less cars, but again, you're getting a lot more variety because you're getting the boats, and you're getting the planes, and you're getting the dirt bikes, and you're getting the four-wheelers, blah, blah, blah. So I guess in short, I would say this is absolutely a shameless copy of Forza Horizon. But if you're a PlayStation owner, who cares? You've been waiting to play a great open-world arcade-style driving game for forever, and here it is. And you're right. Paying for stuff with real money is always there. It's always a button press away. It does have that kind of slimy Ubisoft monetization thing in there, but I have not even had a single moment where I was like, oh, maybe I'll just pay with real money. Like, that hasn't even happened in this game. So ultimately, I think they do a good job of gating the game with your play instead of currency, which is good, and it's great. Like again, there's all these different handling models. Every vehicle feels good and feels at least a little bit realistic. It's an arcade driving game, so, you know, there is a little bit of, like, on-rails track suction around turns at times where it feels like your car is kind of, like, on a rail, and you'd have to really screw up to, like, completely fly off the road. There's a little bit of that in the game. But overall, it does feel great. It plays great. It looks great. There's a lot of variety. There's tons of people playing because it's multi-platform, and so the world is just filled. Another complaint I would have, though, is that those people driving around are ghost cars. But they don't look like ghosts. They look like normal cars. So you're driving around the world, and there's these cars coming at you 100 miles an hour, but they're not there. They're ghost cars. And so you will swerve to get out of the way, and you'll hit a car that's actually there, that's a real car. That is my big complaint, really, with this game. Is like, you see the ghost cars, you confuse them for real cars, and then swerve and actually hit the real cars that are out in the world. So that's a little bit of a nitpick, but something that bothered me throughout my entire time playing the game. But otherwise, it's the best arcade-style racing game on PlayStation. I have no qualms with saying that. It's best for PS4. It's the best for PlayStation 5. So if you're looking for a game like this, go buy it. You will not be disappointed. It's also, I've been playing this already for like 18 hours. There's no sign of me wrapping anything up. There's tons of content. I've been really, really impressed with the Crew Motorfest. And I, like you, not a fan of the Crew at all until I played this game. But just try to forget the name on the box and just play it. And I think people who are looking for a game like this will absolutely love it. So that's the Crew Motorfest. Again, it's multi-platform. It's available for everything. Now, would I say it's better than Forza Horizon? In some ways. I think the driving physics are better in Forza Horizon, which are really important in any driving game. But again, the variety here, there's so much of it, and it's done so well that, I would say it's a pick-em between those two. Like, that's how impressed I am with this game.
I have a very hard time believing the handling on this matches Forza Horizon.
Well, that's what I just said. The handling is better in Forza Horizon.
And that's way more important to me in terms of a
than having variety or whatever.
Oh, way more important.
Yeah.
And maybe Forza is cheating a little bit because it's only doing cars,
right?
And it doesn't have all these other things.
That's just its vision,
like,
you know.
I don't know.
I know it's hard to accept. I've sat and played this game for a week, saying like, "Is this real? Mm-hmm. Is this really as good as I think it is?" And I come back day after day and continually be impressed and surprised by it.
Maybe when it drops in price significantly.
And I would guess it probably will. But again, like, if you're playing online, there are tons of people online. Oh, one more complaint I have before we move on. Matchmaking for online races takes forever. Literally, Matt, like 8 minutes. Now, the special events, no. Like the Battle Royale Smash Up Derby, that's like instantaneous. But if you try to play other online races, it literally takes like 8 minutes to get a race. And you can't race while you're waiting. So you can't drive around the open world and do other stuff. You go to a screen and you sit there and watch the counter.
Horizon did figure that one out.
That's true, yeah. So that's another way that Horizon is vastly superior. So, again, if you're a PlayStation owner, you've been jealous of that franchise for a long time, you now have a viable option, and that is the Crew Motorfest. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about a game, Matt, that I could not even stomach playing more than 10 minutes, and that is Lies of P. So we played the demo. You guys probably played the demo, too, a couple months ago, and it did not carry over your save to the final game. No. So I just assumed that the beginning of Lies of P was going to be completely different, and that's why. As it turns out, that demo was the beginning of the game.
You didn't think that?
No.
It was very clearly.
Well, usually, there's no cutscene either to start the game.
There is after you finish the demo.
Yeah.
Then you get a title.
It's so weird.
No, it was very clear to me that was the beginning of the game.
See, because normally demos that let you use your save start from the beginning. And demos that don't let you use your save don't. They'll pick apart from the middle of the game, and that makes sense. You're like, well, of course, the save won't carry over because I'm actually playing something from Chapter 3 or Chapter 4. In this case, it was the start of the game.
I think they're just not doing it because it's a Souls game.
Yeah. You think that's why?
I mean, it probably makes... I don't... carrying the save over for that, I guess... Yeah, I don't know. There's no reason really not to, but it does. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that I did. That's one of the reasons I didn't want to bother playing it again was because I'm like, I gotta do all this stuff in the demo again.
Well, let me tell you, Matt, once I realized that the final game, I would have to play through the demo again, I quit. And I never went back. And I am okay with that. I have no interest in this game whatsoever, but that's why we're a team. And you do enjoy playing these games, and
I don't enjoy playing this one.
No, you don't.
I strongly dislike this one.
Wow. Because it's getting great reviews from all the Souls
crew. It is, but
crew.
I don't know what these people are talking about.
Yeah?
It is a poor man's Bloodborne in every respect. It is a janky, weak ass, no innovation, no nothing. It is Bloodborne, obviously Bloodborne, but worse in every regard.
And set in the Pinocchio whatever you
set
call
in like
it.
a dark American McGee's Pinocchio situation. Yeah. So I played a few hours of this. I've beaten the second boss, the Forgotten Watchman, or I don't know. It's a fucking London police Bobby that hits you with electrical attacks forever, and it took me like 5 tries and a bunch of grinding to get through it. And summoning the shade, like that's the one where they teach you can summon, very original. You can summon a shade, like a ghost character, to help you fight him, and you basically need to because he uses so many AOE electrical attacks. You need basically bait to hit him
to absorb a lot of the damage.
But like, part of my issue with this game is that for the most part, it's very standard issue Souls-like. It's I guess for the most part, it's fine in that regard. But when it comes down to the fine tuning, when it comes down to the details, it drops the ball constantly. For instance, the first real boss in this is the parade master, or he looks like dressed like a ringmaster. And his whole and the way that this works is that it has a. I know I've seen some people compare this to Sekiro, which is nonsense.
I've seen a lot of people compare it to Sekiro.
Nonsense. Yeah. Like I know it has a stamina bar, like stun a guy thing, and the main character has a trick bionic arm, but no, this is Bloodborne through and through. There is no Sekiro here.
Well, it has projectiles, right? Do you have a gun?
No.
You don't. You never have a gun in this?
I mean, at some point, his arm might get a projectile weapon on it. Right now, I have like it's called the puppet string. So it just shoots out a rope and you pull guys to you.
Oh. So where are the Bloodborne comparisons coming from? Because Bloodborne, what always set it apart was that you had the gun.
Well, yeah, but you're using the arm basically as a counter, the same way the gun worked in Bloodborne.
Okay.
And the main thing is that just the tone, the way the fighting works, the fact that you get life back when you attack back immediately, the emphasis on parrying versus. That's something. Maybe that's tripping people up with the Sekiro thing, like that there's parrying, but the parrying in Sekiro is completely different. The parrying in Sekiro is basically invincible. Mm-hmm. Blocking is basically invincible in Sekiro, and then you get a bonus if you parry. In this game, you have to perfect parry a lot of these bosses, or you die. That's it.
Matt, I couldn't get
because you get damaged when you block.
You do. I couldn't figure out anything in this game. I could never beat that same dude, that little mini boss guy with the Keystone Cops hat or whatever. Like he just
in here, like in this area.
Yeah, it's like my sword isn't long enough to attack him. Like it's like
I will say, I think the attack range on the baseline sword you start with, I think it's actually longer than it was in the demo because I have not found myself missing attacks the way I did in the demo. The demo, I walked through the demo part of this pretty easily. And some of that was because I knew what I was walking into, but also some of it was just like, I don't know, it didn't feel as difficult.
This part was easy as shit. It's when I fight the mini boss, it all changes.
Yeah, I'm talking about the mini boss. I killed him without being touched.
I could never beat him.
And I even beat the ringmaster pretty easily on my first try, which took me like 7 tries before, and I was more leveled up in the demo. Mm-hmm. And it took me like 2. I had to like quit it and come back to it later. At that point, this one I just walked through it. But like the Bloodborne thing is also because it's in like these towns that are abandoned, and you hear people like talking about murmuring behind doors, and like you've got a little hub world you run out through. It means a hotel in this one, but it's like that church you sort of uses your baseline. You have to teleport back to the church to level up with the girl who's standing there mysteriously helping you level up. It's like it's all Bloodborne.
Yeah.
But it's like. So one of the baseline mechanics, especially with the bosses, is that you have to hit them until their life bar glows white, and then you do the charge up attack by holding right trigger, and the charge up attack makes them vulnerable, like it stuns them, and then they get vulnerable, and you can do the fatal blow or whatever thing, which indicates by the 3 red lines that tells you basically, it's like that right there. Like it's like but of course that didn't work for you because the timing on that is extremely weird.
Oh yeah, it's like they set up an enemy to do. I couldn't when I played the final version. I couldn't do it either.
Yeah, like the it's strange because when the 3 lines come up, you can't do it yet. You have to wait like a split second before you can actually do the finisher.
And it's so
like
dumb.
It's very so. When I fought the ringmaster the first time in this, I did finish it. I did beat him the first try. However, I hit him, dodging the thing, perfect parry, his red attacks, whatever. And I got the white thing, and I did the charge up and hit. Then so he goes into his like kind of like oh I'm stunned,
Staggered,
and he staggers down. When he staggers down, so I'm like okay, I gotta hit him. I'm trapped in his hitbox. Like he leaned down on top of my character, and I'm stuck in him, and I can't back away from him enough to get into the zone where you're allowed to do the finisher move. So I completely wasted the whole. Like I took half his fucking life bar off to do that, and now I can't do anything except hit him with normal attacks. So I had to just sort of dodge around and finish him that way. But it's shit like that.
That's the stuff that makes me quit.
If you want to mimic a Souls game like this, you have to nail the execution with it, and this game doesn't, and that is why it can go fuck itself. Because at no point, like that is Dark Souls 2 launch shit, and the Souls crowd lambasts that game to this day for that shit, and apparently this game can do it, and it's fucking great? No, it cannot. I've played Bloodborne. This thing's so similar to Bloodborne that I'd rather just go back and play Bloodborne again rather than suffer through this thing because I've had enough already. Yeah. It
is on Game Pass, so if you're sitting there...
It's on Game Pass, so that's fine.
Yeah, if you're a Souls guy and you're wondering...
I'm going to say, like, everyone's all gaga over this thing, probably because the art, it is very pretty. Yeah. Like, the lighting's great on PC, it looks amazing.
Artistically and technically.
Artistically, it's very impressive. Like, it's cool to see the next thing, like, the town is impressive. I don't understand the lie mechanic here. Like, there's a thing where you can choose periodically to whether you lie or tell the truth about stuff, and it affects his gears inside. They haven't been clear about. I didn't get far enough, I guess, to understand that. Yeah. There is a whole skill tree thing that unlocks after the demo part where the P organ, which is his mechanical heart,
ticker. Yeah.
Like you can like upgrade, use quartz crystals to upgrade different abilities on it, and you can like synergize them, and there's a whole bunch of different other ends of the tree you can unlock. So there is actually a lot of customization in this, and once you unlock the ability to dodge twice, it does help.
No, I would imagine.
So, which explains why when I played the demo, I felt like I was playing like a gimped version of something. I felt like I wasn't being able to dodge as much as I should be able to. And sure enough, it's because that's an upgrade later.
I just can never get in. You can see it in this footage. Once I dodge, I can never get in fast enough to hit him before he's ready to hit me again.
That's because you're supposed to just parry everything perfectly.
Oh.
Because a perfect parry doesn't take any life off. It just takes stamina.
Gotcha.
So that's what you're supposed to be doing there. It's very, very difficult. And later enemies actually, even on the same attack animation, will wait a little bit. So
I've seen that.
They vary how long they wait before they attack.
Dirty.
So it's very hard to time it.
It's dirty.
And that's also, again, that's not an interesting thing to me.
No.
Like, I just don't find that like memorizing an enemy's attack pattern so I can perfect parry them. Like, I did that all through Sekiro. Like, that was, or recognizing how something was going to flow or how, like, attacks work. But every enemy does it a little differently in this, and sometimes they vary it up on the same attack animation. And I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I just don't have the patience for it. Also, and maybe I didn't realize this until going back to, like, a more traditional Souls-alike with this, but like Elden Ring makes this game feel primitive, and Bloodborne makes it feel like review. So I do not see the point.
Yeah.
And I have way better things to play right now.
Yeah, me too.
Even for free.
I played it to that same point. I was like, nope, don't have the time, don't have the will, don't have the gumption.
For people questioning the P organ, it's the letter P, like that P heart or whatever. And apparently, what I read, I don't know if this is true, but what I read is that because this is made in Korea, apparently the letter P is a symbol or a shorthand or something for blood in Korea, which is why the P in Lies of P in the title is red, and why his P organ is his heart.
and
all
not
that.
something else.
It's pumping blood. So that's what I heard is the explanation for what that is. So it's a pun on like blood versus him being mechanical versus there's a big thing about being human versus not being human. That's the other thing is like it's weirdly parallel to that Steel Rising game in the sense that it's automatons and puppets.
Yeah.
In like a kind of a old style. I mean, this is more of
dark
a
fantasy
kind of medieval, like post-medieval Europe thing.
A little bit of steampunk, maybe.
It's very clock punk.
Yeah,
it's got a lot of clock punk to it. Just in the sense, it's like and there's a very you do finally get some backstory once you rescue Geppetto, and like there's some non-puppet enemies because there's like human enemies that all wear like donkey masks that are trying to kill you and kill Geppetto, and so I guess that's a reference to like the Pleasure Island shit. And of course you have your lantern is it's the Gemini system, but it's actually Gemini because it's the cricket.
Gemini cricket.
So you've got like an AI lantern companion who's your conscience, and the blue fairy is like this girl in a blue dress who levels you up just like the automaton girl in Bloodborne.
There are a lot of similarities to say the least.
And and eventually you do get into sort of once you're past the Watchman guy, you get into like different forging different weapons and upgrading things more, and like
the weapon forging is pretty good, right?
Yeah, and you get the boss weapons because you can just like the Souls games, you can forge, you get a whatever their soul or whatever, not their soul, but it's like ergo energy, or I don't know what the fuck it is. You get one of them from each boss you beat, and you can forge those into weapons, and those weapons, more so than maybe any other Souls like I've ever played before, those weapons are way better than the normal weapons.
I saw people praising the weapon stuff in this.
You can rip them apart and mix and match stuff. So if there's like a hilt that does something that you like better as a power up attack, because you build a meter and you can spend it to like either do stuff with the hilt or to do one big attack with the sword overall, and you can mix the blades with the hilts and mix and match abilities basically, and sometimes they'll affect each other differently. So yeah, there is that, but it's like, I don't know, like I don't have the patience to go through this. Like, that's the other thing is like I didn't realize how much Elden Ring kind of spoiled me on the sense of like if you hit a thing that you can't really get through right now, you can go off and do something else and come back to it later. Whereas this is the classic style of like you
gotta beat it.
That's all. Go grind for an hour, asshole. Like it's like,
and then maybe it'll be a little easier.
Yeah, and it's just like
No. That's 2 thumbs down from GameFace. You knew I was going to be a thumbs down. Although I always give these games a shot because I'm the guy who doesn't like Souls-likes, who's always looking for the breakthrough game where it clicks for me. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there like me who wait for me to find the game where I'm like, this is the one, people.
This ain't it.
This is not the one.
If you've never played a Souls game before, you're gonna try this and be like, am I bad at video games?
It's
like,
brutal.
It's one of the hardest games of this nature I've ever played.
Yeah.
Just in the sense that it's very much expecting you to have played these games before and be able to hang with that.
Yeah.
Except I just don't think any of what it does is compelling or interesting or fun as like basically the way Bloodborne does it.
Yeah. So this is Matt, the Souls-like guy,
and having
also
to learn,
thumbs down.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I cannot emphasize how much it is, especially the further you progress, how much it expects you to be able to do that perfect parry every time, especially against bosses, and it's just not feasible.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
I mean, it's a trial and error memorization thing, and I don't feel like this game earned that from me.
Okay.
Like I was willing to do it with Sekiro because it was such a dynamic.
Everything else about it.
Right, yeah, absolutely, and like. Yeah. And I felt really satisfied. I had a real sense of satisfaction a couple times in that game when I beat bosses for the first time I'd ever faced them. I didn't even get touched.
Yeah,
and I was like, I'm awesome. Like,
yeah.
But even when I would perfect parry through boss stuff in this game, I'm just like, oh fuck.
Well, you have to do it again.
Yeah, I didn't even feel like it was an accomplishment. It just felt like, well, I guess I finally figured that out this time, but I bet I can't do it again. You know?
Yeah,
like
that's how I feel playing pretty much every Souls-like.
So yeah, I don't find this game compelling or interesting or fun at all.
All right. Well, there you go. That's 2 thumbs down from GameFace for Lies of P. Matt, we do have one more topic left, but we are out of time. Is there any way we could slide that to next week's episode? Because I know you had kind of talked to somebody about covering it in this show.
I think we can probably smooth that over.
You can?
Yeah.
Okay. But just promising that we are going to cover it. Okay. Okay, well, that's it for GameFace. We got almost everything in. I'm actually surprised that we got this far in the show in our time allotted. But before we go, obviously, we have to pay some bills. And here's a word from our awesome sponsor, SoundWizardry.com.
Experience the realm of extraordinary audio with Sound Wizardry. With a decade-long journey in sound design, we animate your movies and video games with the breath of sound. Our wide-ranging services include sound design, Foley, sound mixing and mastering, audio implementation, dialogue mastering, and the crafting of unique sound effects from freshly recorded material. Our portfolio contains Baldur's Gate 3, Steven Universe, Alan Wake 2, Gwent, Cyberpunk 2077, and more. Visit soundwizardry.com and let us transmute your vision into an auditory marvel.
Obviously, what an amazing resume soundwizardry.com has. I mean, he worked on Baldur's Gate 3. That's a big, big deal. But if you need any sound work on anything, and I mean anything, head to soundwizardry.com. Anything you're working on, you need some audio touched up, or you need sound effects, or anything like that, need some punch-ups in some of your audio sound effects or whatever, make sure you head over. They are the experts. They've done an amazing job, and they have worked on some gigantic projects. Let's take a look at chat real quick before we go. Just want to thank some of you guys who are hooking us up. Short Raver, thank you for Twitch Prime. Norx Nessie 94, thank you for Twitch Prime. Anybody else getting in at the end here? Quick question from Swanland. How many areas to race in? Is it just Hawaii? It's just Oahu. It's just one island of Hawaii for the Crew Motorfest. 33 months and 27 months, guys. That's awesome. Thank you. It really makes a difference. In fact, if you're watching this or listening to this on either YouTube or any of the podcast services, you can help us totally for free using Twitch Prime. If you're an Amazon Prime customer, you can give us a free $2.50 every month. If you're watching on YouTube, the instructions are down below. But even if you're not doing that and you just want to help us in general, please head to patreon.com/sifted. That's SIFTD. You can pledge whatever you want per month, just $1. That gives you some on-site rewards. $2 gets you Pactor Factor. $4 a month gets you all our content early. It's really cheap. We're, I think, the cheapest major gaming Patreon out there right now. I think everybody's moved to $5 or more at this point, but us. We'd really appreciate any help, and that's really where it helps us a ton, is if we know that you're a patron and we can count on that money coming in every month. That's great. But again, if you're broke and you want to help us out, Twitch Prime is a great way to do it. We'll be back on Tuesday. I already have like 3 games waiting to play. It's going to be an awesome show next week too. This show was gigantic. Holy crap, we managed to squeeze in all those games into our normal allotted time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. What else? I think that's it. Yeah, we'll be back at normal time right here at twitch.tv/siftedgames at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. You're done with jury duty. I'm done with jury duty. I think the show should be ready to rock every Tuesday for the rest of the year at this point. So thanks to all our patrons who hook us up and make all this possible. We appreciate you guys very much. Thanks to everybody who shows up live in our chat, who gave us Twitch Prime today. The hype train ended up going all the way around and getting back to level 1 again, I think. That's awesome. Thanks, you guys. It wouldn't happen without you. Legacy, thank you for getting in there with Twitch Prime at the last minute. I see you guys putting in questions for Q&A. We don't have any time. We can't do it today, unfortunately. Try to remember those questions for next week. Although I see Glenn Schofield is leaving striking distance in there. What? Oh, gosh. All right.
I mean, that's over.
It's over. It really does seem like it's there. One game, one and done is all it took. That was it. So anyway, we're out of time. We're actually over time already. Thanks to everybody who supports us. Thanks to everybody in the chat. You guys fact check us in real time. Add context to all our discussions. It's amazing. Thanks to Matt for hosting. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. GameFace is up and out.